Chapter 1204. Blood Pools. A lightning-like figure shuttled through the dark black tunnel. The tunnels outside of the large hall extended in all directions, appearing just like a maze. This figure entered a concave cave after passing through a couple of rather remote corners. A delicate and handsome face was revealed under the dim light. It was Zhuo Wen's actual body, who had escaped from the large hall. What a loss! Both of my doppelgangers were left in the main hall. Zhuo Wen's eyes were gloomy to the extreme. From what he could sense, the Buddhist avatar was currently being suppressed by Tsang Dai. It was only a matter of time before the Buddhist avatar was defeated. As for the demonic Tao avatar, although he had the slaughtering abstinence violation saber, and because he was a demonic cultivator, his combat strength was far greater than an ordinary martial artist's. Coupled with the slaughtering abstinence violation saber, the demonic Tao avatar's might was extremely terrifying. However, the Tsangja trio were all intermediate Emperor realm experts. No matter how terrifying the demon doppelganger's battle strength was, it was unlikely that he could suppress the trio. In fact, Jun could sense that the demon doppelganger was being suppressed by the trio. At this moment, within the large hall, Tsang Jie's brows were slightly furrowed. She did not expect that Zhuo Wen would actually have a demonic avatar, allowing Zhuo Wen's actual body to escape. This is Supreme Demon Battle Chi? Soon, Tsang Jie's attention was focused on the demon doppelganger Zhuan, who was holding the slaughtering oath-breaking saber. Her beautiful eyes were startled at first, but soon revealed a strong sense of greed. Humph! Let's get rid of you as soon as possible. After taking a deep look at the demon doppelganger Zhuan, Tsang Jie waved her jade-like hand. Suddenly, a strange black gas swept out from her palm and turned into a black rope that was thousands of feet long. When the black rope appeared, it was like a black python that wrapped around the Buddhist doppelganger. The moment the black rope wrapped around the Buddhist doppelganger Zhuan, the latter frowned slightly. Just as he was about to break free, he found that the black rope emitted an extremely strange power that tightly bound him, making it impossible for him to break free. Although your doppelganger's body is extremely strong, your strength is still below the Emperor realm. You can't compare with me at all. You can't break free from the black rope I provided for you, Tsang Jie said indifferently. The Buddhist doppelganger Zhuowen struggled for a moment and stopped. He could feel that the black rope that was binding him was very strong. It was true that he could not break free from it. The huge Zhuowen, Tsang Jie trio. Zhuan the demon doppelganger. The huge demon doppelganger was wrapped in rolling demon clouds. Cloud demon doppelganger. Yun studio Zhuan was. Tsang Jie. Zhuowen studio. Yun. Zhuowen Buddhist. Studio Zhou studio Zhuan studio is studio. Demon studio demonic. Demon demanding. When the pitch-black spear collided with the slaughtering oath-breaking blade, an extremely ear-piercing screech erupted. Jun was shocked to discover that the power that erupted from the pitch-black spear had caused his blade-wielding right hand to turn numb. Chaotic mortal world. Zhuan let out a low roar, and the blood-red smoke gushed out from the slaughter oath-breaking saber. A depraved mortal world essence gushed out from the blood-red smoke and spread around. In the depraved mortal world essence, Tsang Jie and the other two, who were rushing forward to encircle Ding Hao, suddenly stopped, and their minds fell into the real mortal world environment. On the other hand, Tsang Jie's beautiful eyes were in a daze. Apparently, she had also been affected by the chaotic worldly dust. However, she quickly regained her clarity of mind. She stretched out her right hand, and with a roar, the 10,000 feet tall demonic shadow descended from the sky, viciously suppressing Zhuan. Life destruction. Billowing demon battle chi gushed out from Zhuowen's body and entered the slaughtering oath-breaking saber in his hand. Subsequently, the surface of the slaughtering oath-breaking saber emitted a terrifying blood-red light. The blood-red light surged out for 10,000 feet, forming a 10,000 feet long saber shadow. Boom! The 10,000 feet tall demonic shadow's giant hand was directly smashed into powder by the 10,000 feet long saber shadow. Suppress! Tsang Jie's beautiful eyes narrowed. The demonic shadow let out a monstrous roar, and the pitch-black spear in his right hand suddenly swept out. The extremely black spear tip spun violently like an electric drill, abruptly colliding with the 10,000 feet long saber shadow. Subsequently, a sharp screech erupted. Boom, 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 boom. What made Zhuowen's pupils shrink was that the terrifying 10,000 feet long saber shadow was instantly penetrated by the pitch-black spear. Subsequently, the demonic shadow swung his right hand, and suddenly, a monstrous demonic power poured into the saber shadow, shattering it into countless blood-red powder. Bang! The moment the saber shadow shattered, the demonic shadow took a step forward. His shattered left palm was restored to its original state under the effect of the surging demonic aura. His left hand descended from the sky and enveloped Zhuowen of the demonic path. Slash! Zhuowen waved his right hand, and demon battle chi gushed out. The slaughtering oath-breaking saber slashed out once again. However, the moment the slaughtering oath-breaking saber slashed out, it was blocked by the demonic shadow's pitch-black spear. Subsequently, the demonic shadow's left palm smoothly caught Zhuowen. Zhuowen's brows slightly knitted as he coldly stared at Song Jie on the demonic shadow. From the beginning to the end, he did not reveal any fear and maintained a cold expression. Demons were originally heaven-defying cultivators. They were cold and indifferent to everything. Even in the face of death, they would not reveal any fear. Instead, they would remain indifferent. Zhuowen's body was derived from the demonic eye, and he possessed all the characteristics of a demon. Even if he was captured alive by Song Jie, there would not be any emotion in his eyes. The moment he caught Zhuowen of the demonic Dao, Song Jie waved his sleeve. Instantly, a sound barrier enveloped the two of them. Song Jie stared at Zhuowen of the demonic Dao and asked, "Where did you get your extreme demonic battle chi? Looking at your appearance, there is also a trace of the demon battle art's circulation path in your body. If you hand over these two things to me, I can consider letting you live." Demon battle chi and demon battle art? Zhuowen of the demonic Dao narrowed his eyes as he stared at the somewhat anxious Song Dai. His eyes were filled with a strange light. Wasn't this Song Dai the incarnation of the Lord of Extreme Demons? And the Extreme Demon Chi and Extreme Demon Battle Art were created by the Lord of Extreme Demons. Why did it seem like Song Dai didn't know these two things at all and even wanted to obtain his Extreme Demon Battle Art and Extreme Demon Battle Chi? Perhaps sensing the strange expression in Zhuowen's eyes, Song Jie's expression stiffened. He immediately coughed and said, "Although I am the incarnation of the Demon Lord's remnant soul, I am still missing a lot of my memories. Although I created the demon battle art, I have already forgotten this part of my memories. Also, this demon battle chi has great benefits for my recovery. If you hand it over now, I will remember your merit and spare your life." Zhuowen's eyes were indifferent as he coldly smiled and said, "The demon battle chi has already been refined by me. As for the demon battle art, it is in my body. You are dreaming if you want to obtain it." Song Jie's face darkened when he heard this. He coldly said, "I know you can definitely hear me. Your two clones are in my hands. You better hand over the demon battle art and I can consider returning your Buddhist clone to you." "You're only returning my Buddhist clone? What about my demonic clone?" Zhuowen's chilling voice sounded. Song Jie coldly snorted and said, "Demonic clone? Your demonic avatar has extreme demonic battle chi. Naturally, I need to refine it. The extreme demonic battle chi is what I need. If you hand over the demon battle art now, you can get your Buddhist clone back. Otherwise, you will lose both clones. This is the choice I am giving you." Upon hearing these words, the expression of Zhuowen, who was hiding in the groove of the tunnel, became extremely dark and cold. His eyes were also filled with a gloomy expression. This Song Dai was truly ruthless. If he did not hand over the great demon battle art, this Song Dai planned to destroy both of his avatars. "Brat, don't hand over the demon battle art. If this Dragon Lord's guess is correct, once the demon battle art is handed over to Song Jie, the latter's strength will definitely increase greatly. This is extremely disadvantageous for you. Moreover, your Buddhist and demonic clones are formed from the demon eye of the Buddha. This is a treasure refined by the fighting Buddha demon sage. How can a mere Emperor Realm cultivator destroy it? At most, the two clones will be trapped by Songjie. Xiao He came out of Zhuowen's sea of consciousness and stood on his shoulder as she reasoned. Zhuowen nodded. Xiao He was right. Songjie was so eager to obtain the demon battle art in his hands. This in itself was somewhat strange. His thoughts were the same as Xiao He's. He definitely couldn't hand over the demon battle art. Have you considered it? Losing one or two doppelgangers is all up to you. Song Dai continued to speak to Zhuowen of the demonic Dao. Zhuowen glanced at Songjie indifferently and said coldly, "Scram. Don't even think about obtaining the demon battle art." Songjie's expression froze slightly. Immediately, her beautiful eyes revealed a violent rage. She stared at Zhuowen and said in a low voice, "Good, good, good. Since you said so, don't blame me for being ruthless." As she spoke, Song Fei waved her sleeve again and the sound barrier was removed. She extended her right hand and grabbed Zhuowen from the demonic Dao. "The three of you, keep a close eye on that Zhuowen of the Buddhist Dao. Right now, I need to properly deal with this Zhuowen of the demonic Dao." After Song Dai finished speaking, he lifted Zhuowen and stepped out. In an instant, they arrived above the blood pool. Songjie and the other two looked at each other. They did not understand why Song Dai blocked the conversation between Zhuowen and Zhuowen. However, since Song Dai had ordered them to do so, they naturally could not disobey. They all came to Zhuowen's side and focused their sharp eyes on Zhuowen. Above the blood pool, Song Dai silently stared at Zhuowen and said indifferently, "You asked for it. Now, I'll put your devil avatar into the sacrificial blood pool to refine it and extract the supreme devil battle chi. Then, I'll deal with your Buddhist avatar. Of course, I won't let your main body go." Chapter 1205. Two pupils at the bottom of the pool boom. Demonic Dao Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. His body was still in midair as he twisted his waist. Grand demonic battle chi surged out in an attempt to escape from the range of the blood pool. Unfortunately, Song Dai's power firmly restrained his entire body, making it impossible for him to twist his body. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Numerous blood vessel-like branches burst out from the blood pool. They were like countless tentacles as they entangled demonic Dao Zhuowen, making it difficult for him to break free. Bang! The sound of something falling into the water rang out. Soon after, demonic Dao Zhuowen was directly pulled into the blood pool by the countless blood vessel-like branches. In an instant, demonic Dao Zhuowen felt that his eyes were filled with the color of blood. Other than the boundless blood, there was no other color in his eyes. Waves of blood-colored whirlpools churned up from the blood pool like boiling water. It looked extremely terrifying. Song Dai silently hovered above the blood pool. A cruel expression appeared in his eyes as he watched demonic Dao Zhuowen's figure being submerged in the blood pool. "I must obtain the grand demonic battle chi. Also, you will not be able to take away the grand demonic battle art on your body." Song Dai muttered in a low voice as his pitch-black eyes were filled with a blazing color. Demonic Dao avatar has been thrown into the sacrificial blood pool by Song Dai. Zhuowen's original body spat out a mouthful of blood as he spoke with a slightly pale face. "The power of this sacrificial blood pool is not bad. It is actually able to affect your demonic Dao avatar. However, I'm afraid that it will not be able to refine your demonic Dao avatar." Xiao He, who was on Zhuowen's shoulder, said in a somewhat grave voice. Zhuowen nodded. After all, the demonic Dao avatar was formed by the demonic eye. If it was so easily refined by the sacrificial blood pool, wouldn't it bring shame to the reputation of the fighting Buddha demon sage? At this moment, demonic Dao Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes in the blood pool. A strange black and red light burst out from his eyes. The surrounding blood-colored whirlpools were rapidly rotating and squeezing demonic Dao Zhuowen. However, they were unable to cause much harm to him as demonic Dao Zhuowen circulated the grand demonic battle chi in his body to completely block the corrosion of the surrounding blood-colored whirlpools. There are too many blood-colored whirlpools in this sacrificial blood pool. The grand demonic battle chi cannot support me for too long. I have to think of a way to get out of this blood pool. Zhuowen slightly frowned as he looked around at the endless blood-colored whirlpool. His eyes revealed a hint of disappointment. Most of his strength had been confined by Tsang Dai. Coupled with the numerous blood vessels and branches that burst out from the blood pool, Zhuowen's strength had been reduced to less than 10%. Not to mention escaping from this blood pool, he even felt that it was difficult for him to move. Time slowly passed. Finally, the grand demonic battle chi that surrounded Zhuowen had been shattered. The billowing blood-colored whirlpools were like numerous blood-colored rays that eroded demonic Dao Zhuowen's demonic body in an attempt to completely crush it. However, demonic Dao's demonic body was formed by the demonic eye of the Buddha demon eye. Although the sacrificial blood pool was powerful, it was still difficult to destroy demonic Dao's demonic body. Although demonic Dao's demonic body was so tough that the blood pool could not destroy it, the extreme pain caused by the blood-colored whirlpools stirring his body was clearly transmitted to Zhuowen's nerves. So painful, Zhuowen's original body suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face became even paler. Although demonic Dao's demonic body could not be destroyed by the blood pool, the pain caused by the injury was transmitted to Zhuowen's nerves. The pain was extremely intense, as if thousands of ants were gnawing at his heart. Even though Zhuowen's willpower was extremely firm, he still groaned from the intense pain. His hands that were pressed against the wall left extremely deep marks on the wall. It could be seen how intense the pain Zhuowen was enduring at this moment. It seems that the two avatars have a great impact on you, Xiaohei said with a frown as she looked at Zhuowen, who was groaning in pain. In the blood pool, demonic Dao Zhuowen frowned slightly. Although he also felt the intense pain, he was a demonic Dao cultivator. The only thing that remained unchanged in his eyes was his indifference. He did not reveal any pain. At most, he would frown slightly. When demonic Dao Zhuowen was drifting in the blood pool, a pair of purple-black pupils appeared at the bottom of the blood pool. The pupils looked through the endless blood water and fell on demonic Dao Zhuowen's body. A hint of astonishment appeared in the pupils' eyes. The aura of grand demonic battle chi? This kid also cultivates a grand demonic battle art? Could this be fate? A low and hoarse voice slowly resounded from the pair of purple-black pupils and lingered at the bottom of the blood pool. Demonic Dao Zhuowen, who was drifting with the flow, also heard the voice at the bottom of the blood pool. His eyes narrowed slightly as he asked in a deep voice, "Who is it?" The sound of water splashing was heard. Then, Zhuowen suddenly discovered that a pair of purple-black pupils had appeared in front of him. The pair of purple-black pupils were in the shape of two rings. If one looked at them, it would be extremely easy to feel dizzy. "Who are you?" Demonic Dao Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and stared at the pair of purple-black pupils with vigilance. He did not notice the appearance of the pair of pupils before. The pair of pupils did not pay attention to Zhuowen's question. Instead, they stared at Zhuowen and said indifferently, "Where did you get your grand demonic battle chi and grand demonic battle art?" Hearing this, Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and revealed a look of shock. Why would the pair of pupils suddenly ask such a question? And who was the owner of the pair of pupils? The way they appeared was too strange. Your physical body is really tough. You actually did not suffer any damage in the sacrificial blood pool. However, this is not the place to talk. Come with me. The pair of purple-black pupils glanced at Zhuowen indifferently. Soon after, a purple-black energy wrapped around Zhuowen. Zhuowen wanted to resist, but found that the purple-black energy was too large and did not allow him to resist at all. Soon, Zhuowen was carried away by the mighty force and rushed to the bottom of the blood pool. At the bottom of the blood pool, there was a half-mile wide vacuum zone. The reason why it was called a vacuum zone was mainly because this half-mile area was covered by a semicircular light barrier. The surrounding blood water was basically blocked by this semicircular light barrier. It was impossible for it to enter this half-meter radius. The pair of purple-black pupils quickly brought Zhuowen into the light shield. The moment his feet landed on the ground, Zhuowen found that the shackles on his body had disappeared. Then, his attention fell on the pair of purple-black pupils in front of him. However, the pair of purple-black pupils did not look at Zhuowen. Instead, they turned into a purple-black stream of light and landed in the center of the area. There, a stooped figure quietly sat cross-legged. "Armor Soul?" Zhuo Wen's eyes first landed on the purple-black eyes that were suspended above the human figure. Only then did he turn his attention to the hunchbacked figure below the eyes. How could he not tell that the purple-black eyes that had brought him here were the armor spirit of this hunchbacked figure? However, although the stooped figure in front of him emitted a powerful aura, there were traces of death aura lingering around his body, as if this figure could lose his life at any time. The semicircular light shield above the vacuum area was also supported by this stooped figure, preventing the surrounding blood water from entering. The stooped figure slowly turned around, revealing an aged face that was covered in wrinkles. Moreover, there were strands of dark aura faintly seeping out from this aged face. It looked exceptionally strange and terrifying. Poison? Looking at the strands of black qi on the stooped old man's face, Zhuo Wen's pupils shrank, and he whispered in surprise. He. Sit. The hunchbacked old man waved his sleeve. Immediately, a stone table and 2 stone stools appeared in front of him. He leisurely sat on one of the stone stools. His right hand pointed at the stone stools opposite him as he spoke to Zhuo Wen. Although his heart was filled with doubt, Zhuo Wen still followed the stooped old man's instructions and sat opposite him. His eyes were rather cautious as he stared at the stooped old man and asked softly, "Senior is?" When Zhuo Wen said this, he realized that he didn't know how to address the stooped old man in front of him. You can call me Old Mo. How should I address you, little friend? Old Mo coughed lightly and smiled at Zhuo Wen. Zhuo Wen did not hide his name and calmly said. The stooped old man in front of him seemed to be trapped in the pool of blood as well. However, he did not know who this person was. Could it be that he was related to the storage disk? Zhuo Wen? Not a bad name. Old Mo praised and then went silent for a while, as if he was thinking about something. After pausing for a moment, he continued, Did you obtain the demon battle chi and demon battle art from the 2 statues in the treasure pavilion? Hearing this, Zhuo Wen's pupils shrank as he stared at Old Mo. Zhuo Wen's heart was filled with doubts. He did not expect that this old man would know the location of the demon battle chi and demon battle art. Could it be that these 2 items were placed in the treasure pavilion by this old man? Then who was this old man? There's no need to be too surprised. Just as you thought, the demon battle chi and the demon battle art were placed in the 2 demonic statues at the entrance of the Bountiful Treasures Pavilion. Elder Hiroshi admitted it openly. Then who are you? Why would it exist in this sacrificial blood pool? Zhuo Wen frowned slightly and asked Old Mo. Old Mo smiled as a chilling light flowed out of his eyes. Because someone wants to use this sacrificial blood pool to completely refine me and take my power for their own. This sacrificial blood pool has existed here for nearly 100 years. It has existed for nearly 100 years? Could it be that Elder has also been trapped at the bottom of this blood pool for nearly 100 years? Zhuo Wen's eyes were startled as he asked in surprise. Yes. The original purpose of this sacrificial blood pool was to refine this old man. However, you suddenly barged into this blood pool. In addition, you have the aura of the supreme demonic chi on your body, so this old man pulled you here. Elder Mo nodded. Hearing this, Zhuo Wen frowned slightly. Soon after, he asked, Elder, the one who built this sacrificial blood pool is the demon lord's remnant soul. Do you have any way to escape from this blood pool? Chapter 1206. The True Grand Devil Master. Oh? Is this Tsang Dai not formed from the Grand Devil Master's soul fragment? Zhuo Wen's eyes hardened when he heard Old Mo's soft curse. Surprise was revealed in his heart as he quietly wondered. Old Mo also noticed that he had lost his composure after cursing. His eyes flickered as he sighed softly. From the looks of it, you don't seem to know anything about the Grand Devil Master. I really don't know much about the Lord of the Grand Demon. However, I heard that the Lord of the Grand Demon was the only genius in the panicked world who had advanced to the Advanced Emperor realm. After the Lord of the Grand Demon founded the Grand Demon sect, he mysteriously disappeared not long after. Everyone thought that the Lord of the Grand Demon might have gone to a higher plane. Who would have thought that we would encounter the remnant soul of the Grand Demon Lord in the Grand Demon sect ruins? Zhuo Wen muttered. The Grand Devil Master's soul fragment that you are talking about should be Mo Jia. It is this fellow who created this sacrificial blood pool. It is also this fellow who wants to refine me and turn me into his own strength. Old Mo's eyes revealed a ferocious expression when he spoke until this point. His eyes were filled with hatred. Zhuowen's eyes hardened when he heard this. He quickly asked, "In that case, who is this Mo Jie?" Mo Jie is the last sect master of the ultimate demon sect. He possesses the cultivation of the 6th level D stage. At the same time, he is also a despicable person. Old Mo's eyes were filled with fury when he spoke until this point. He was so angry that he was trembling. "Why is this Mo Jie scheming to deal with Elder?" Zhuowen asked in a puzzled manner. Old Mo slowly calmed his somewhat uncontrollable fury. He glanced at Zhuowen and sighed. "Let me tell you a story about the Grand Devil Master. Are you willing to listen to me?" Zhuowen was taken aback. He subconsciously nodded and said, "Senior, please speak your mind." Old Mo nodded slightly. Immediately, his eyes became a little unfocused as he softly said, "The Grand Demon Master has an ominous body. He caused the death of his parents the moment he was born, causing him to become an orphan. Due to this ominous omen from the moment he was born, his fellow villagers did not wish to cause any trouble and abandoned him in the wilderness. However, the Grand Demon Master is an extraordinary person. He possesses a trace of intelligence the moment he makes a move. He lives in the wilderness with the body of an infant, living like a wolf or a tiger. When he was 3 years old, he could snatch food from the mouths of tigers and wolves. When he was 5 years old, he became the king of wild beasts in the wilderness. When he was 6 years old, he returned to the village and killed over 100 villagers. When he was 10 years old, the sect master of the extreme demon sect encountered the Grand Demon Master. The sect master of the extreme demon sect saw that his talent was extraordinary and he possessed all the characteristics of a demonic cultivator. He knew that the Grand Demon Master was definitely a genius of demonic cultivation. As a result, the sect master of the extreme demon sect became fond of his talent and accepted him as a subordinate, becoming his disciple. The Grand Demon Master did not disappoint the sect master of the extreme demon sect. With the systematic teaching of cultivation, the Grand Demon Master's cultivation basically progressed by leaps and bounds. Back then, the extreme demon sect was only an insignificant demonic sect among the 7 prefectures. However, the Grand Demon Master rose up far too quickly. His breakthroughs were terrifyingly fast as well. A genius like that finally attracted the attention of the 7 prefectures. As a result, the 7 prefectures requested the extreme demon sect to hand the Grand Demon Master over to them. They could see the potential in the Grand Demon Master, so they wanted to take the genius for themselves. However, the Lord of the Grand Fiends had his own pride, and all his abilities were taught to him by the sect master of the Grand Fiend sect. As a result, the Lord of the Grand Fiends rejected the requests of the 7 great sections. However, his rejection angered the 7 great sects, and as a result, the Grand Fiend sect was destroyed in a single night. The only one who managed to escape was the Lord of the Grand Fiends. Since then, the Lord of the Grand Fiends vanished from the entire world, and everyone gradually forgot about him. 10 years later, the Grand Demon Master reappeared. His cultivation had reached mid-emperor. As a result, the Grand Demon Master came looking for the 7 prefectures one by one. Back then, apart from the Great Zhou Institute, the 6 other prefectures were basically massacred by the Grand Demon Master. Back then, blood flowed like rivers. Even though the Great Zhou Institute's master was not weak back then, he still did not dare to contend against the Grand Demon Master. Instead, he chose to retreat. As a result, the Grand Demon Master founded a new extreme demon sect in the panicked world. This time, the extreme demon sect that the Grand Demon Master founded was even more powerful than all the other sects and organizations. It was filled with experts and geniuses. It was extremely powerful, basically surpassing the 7 prefectures. It became the only sect and organization that ruled the panicked world. Elder Mo paused when he reached there, while Zhuowen sank into his thoughts. It seemed like the Grand Demon Master was no ordinary person. He was born with a body of ill omen. Both his parents had died, so he survived in the wilderness as an infant. When he was 6 years old, he killed the entire village that had abandoned him. The Grand Demon Master was a rather cold-blooded and heartless person. However, he possessed a pure demonic heart, which was why his speed of demonic cultivation was so abnormal. Senior, what happened afterwards? How did the Grand Demon Master go missing afterwards? Zhuan suddenly asked. Elder Mo nodded and continued. After the Grand Demon Master established the new extreme demon sect, his demonic might filled the sky. No organization in the panicked world could compare to him. Afterwards, the Grand Demon Master no longer cared about the matters of the extreme demon sect. Instead, he focused on cultivation, preparing to break through the shackles of the high-class emperor realm that no one had ever broken through before. The figure of an emperor descended from the sky, as if to welcome a new emperor. Countless bolts of lightning spread, turning the sky of the extreme demon sect into a prison of lightning. The might of the heavens was vast and mighty, and all the cultivators in the panicked world knelt on the ground as if they were paying respects to an emperor. At that moment, the Grand Demon Master stepped out of his seclusion. He was in high spirits and his eyes shone like stars. He had broken through his shackles, reaching the high-class emperor realm that no one had ever reached before. After breaking through to the high-class emperor realm, the first thing the Grand Demon Master did was head to the Great Zhou Institute and kill the Great Zhou Institute's headmaster. He wanted to take revenge for the 7 prefectures working together to destroy the extreme demon sect. Afterwards, the Grand Demon Master stayed in the extreme demon sect for a few more years. Because there were no longer any opponents he could fight, the Grand Demon Master grew more and more bored of the panicked world. As a result, he decided to challenge the protector of the panicked world and reach the legendary upper realm. Zhuan's eyes lit up. He asked, "Then the Grand Demon Master fought with the protector of the panicked world?" The Grand Demon Master did indeed find the protector of the panicked world and fought with him. The might of the battle was so great that the sky seemed to collapse and the earth seemed to crack open. All the cultivators in the 7 prefectures saw the battle between the Grand Demon Master and the protector. The battle was devastating. Who knows how many cultivators were killed by the shockwaves of their battle? However, the protector of the panicked world was actually even more powerful than the Grand Demon Master. In the end, the Grand Demon Master was defeated and heavily injured by the protector. He fled in panic. Only then did the Grand Demon Master learn that the panicked world actually had such a terrifying existence. The pride in his heart crumbled in that battle. After his defeat, the Grand Demon Master returned to the Grand Demon Sect. He ordered the many experts of the Grand Demon Sect to create a statue that was several thousand feet tall. The statue was based on the Grand Demon Master. Since then, the Grand Demon Master shut himself in the statue to recuperate. In the battle with the Protector, the Grand Demon Master's source was injured. It will take a long time for him to recover. Following the Grand Demon Master's seclusion, the Grand Demon Sect fell into a masterless state. As a result, the entire 7 prefectures began to speculate about the whereabouts of the Grand Demon Master. Various versions of the rumors spread through the streets and alleys. However, the Grand Demon Sect was powerful back then, so it did not cause too much of a reaction. However, the Grand Demon Sect became more and more dispirited, and its influence was far from what it used to be. As a result, countless forces in the 7 prefectures began to stir. In the end, many forces were unwilling to be notified by the Grand Demon Sect. They rose up and uprooted the entire Grand Demon Sect. Back then, the last sect master of the Grand Demon Sect was called Emogia. He had some foresight, so he moved the statue of the Grand Demon Master and hid most of the resources of the Grand Demon Sect in the statue, hiding it in the depths of the dangerous Dreamcloud swampland. Emogia was the last sect master of the Grand Demon Sect. Zhuan raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise. However, Zhuan only responded with a question and did not say anything else. He knew that what Old Mo was about to say was the main point. Yun also had some guesses about Old Mo's identity. After Emogia hid the statue of the Grand Demon Master in the Dreamcloud swampland, he went in to find the Grand Demon Master. He wanted to seek the help of the Grand Demon Master, but after he entered the statue, He discovered that the injuries of the Grand Demon Master were far more severe than he had imagined. Even though he told the Grand Demon Master everything, the latter remained indifferent. With no other choice, Emojie could only hide in the statue. After all, the outside world is filled with many forces that want to capture the remnants of the Grand Demon sect. He would definitely not be able to escape death if he went out, so he might as well stay here. The Grand Demon Master naturally did not mind Emojie being in the statue. As long as he did not disturb his recovery, he would not pay any attention to Emojie. However, I never thought that Emojie would find a secret technique called blood sacrifice among the many resources in the statue. This secret technique used the blood of countless living beings as a medium, and with a strange power, it would refine all the energy of the living beings that fell into the pool of blood. The energy that was refined would naturally be absorbed by the caster, allowing him to obtain even more power. What I never thought was that Emojie would actually place the target of the blood sacrifice on the body of the Grand Demon Master. At this point, old Emo stopped talking, but a hint of anger appeared in his eyes. The Grand Demon Master? Chapter 1207. Demon Emperor. That's right. This old man is the Lord of Ultimate Demons. Back then, when I was recovering from my injuries in the statue, I was completely unguarded against Emojie. However, that ingrate actually poisoned me in order to steal my strength and advance to the high-level Martial Emperor realm. He even launched a sneak attack on me. Otherwise, even if this old man was heavily injured, I would have been able to tear him to pieces. Elder Hiroshi's eyes were filled with ferocity as he spoke. Clearly, he was still brooding over Emojie's ambush. Dun, how about cooperating with me? If you cooperate with me, I can help you defeat Emojie and let you escape from the sacrificial blood pool, Elder Hiroshi suddenly said to Juon with a hint of hope in his eyes. Juon narrowed his eyes as he looked at Elder Hiroshi. However, he secretly communicated with Xiaohei. Xiaohei, do you think Elder Hiroshi's words are reliable? Also, could Elder Hiroshi really be the Lord of Grand Demons who disappeared a long time ago? This old man's words should be half true. Kid, don't believe all of it. However, it might be true that this old man is the Lord of Grand Demons. However, this kind of old man who has lived for so long is very shrewd. You have to be careful. Xiaohei's indifferent voice rang out in Zhuowen's mind. This caused Zhuowen's heart to shiver slightly. Xiaohei was right. The Lord of Grand Demons was a demonic cultivator. His temperament was as tough as steel, and he would do anything by fair means or foul. Jun still had to be cautious when dealing with such an old monster. May I know how Senior will cooperate with me? And how will you help me defeat Emojie? Zhuon suddenly asked. However, Elder Hiroshi smiled and said, I am the Lord of the Supreme Devil. I am most proficient in the power of devils. You are a devil cultivator, and a peak Empyrean at that. I can help you break through to the Devil Emperor realm in a short period of time. Once your cultivation breaks through to the Devil Emperor realm, your strength will increase by hundreds or thousands. At that time, you will be of great help to me. Help me break through to Demon Emperor. Zhuowen's eyes shone brightly as his pupils shrank to the extreme. He hadn't expected the Lord of Grand Demons to give him such a great gift. According to his current situation, his demonic clone wouldn't be able to break through to Demon Emperor in a short time. Moreover, devil cultivators were a kind of cultivators who went against the heavens. If one wanted to become a devil emperor, it would definitely be much more difficult than ordinary cultivators advancing to the emperor realm. Of course, correspondingly, their combat strength would also far surpass ordinary emperor realm cultivators. But the Lord of Grand Demons could help him break through to Demon Emperor in a short time. How could Zhuon not be moved? Of course, he didn't doubt the words of the Lord of Grand Demons. This was a terrifying existence that had broken through to high-level Demon Emperor as a demonic cultivator. The Lord of Grand Demons was definitely an extremely terrifying high-level Demon Emperor. Such an existence understood demons better than Zhuon. He also understood how to help Zhuon break through to Demon Emperor. If you believe me, I can help you break through to Demon Emperor in a short time. Of course, the choice is in your hands. If you don't believe me, I won't force you. the Lord of Grand Demons said indifferently. Zhuowen frowned. The temptation of breaking through to Demon Emperor was too great for him. Although he felt that the Lord of Grand Demons' words were somewhat inappropriate, he still wanted to give it a try. After all, this was only Zhuowen's demonic clone, not his main body, so he wasn't very afraid that the Lord of Grand Demons would trick him. After all, the situation of being stuck in the sacrificial blood pool was bad enough, so this method was worth a try. However, Zhuowen couldn't blindly believe the Lord of Grand Demons. He still had a certain level of vigilance in his heart to prevent being tricked. I believe you. I hope you can really help me break through to Demon Emperor, Zhuowen said calmly. Don't worry, I'm the Lord of Supreme Demons, and you've cultivated my Supreme Demon battle art. If I can't help you break through to the Demon Emperor realm, then it only proves that my title as the Lord of Supreme Demons is undeserved. The light in the Lord of Grand Demons' eyes flickered with joy when he saw Zhuowen agree. Now, sit cross-legged on the ground and try to circulate the extreme demonic battle art in your body. I will borrow the extreme demonic battle chi in your body and circulate the extreme demonic battle art to help you smoothly break through your shackles, the Lord of Extreme Demonic said again. Zhuowen nodded and sat on the ground. At the same time, he began to remember the specific method of the Grand Demon battle art he had obtained from the demon statue. Immediately, dark Grand Demon battle chi began to permeate around Zhuowen like a viscous, inky mist. Now, I will place my hand on your back and use my power to guide you to cultivate the Extreme Demon battle art. This Extreme Demon battle art has a total of 18 levels. Every time you cultivate a level, its power will increase by a lot. If you successfully cultivate to the 3rd level, you will smoothly break through the Demon Emperor realm and become a 1st-level Demon Emperor. With that, the Lord of Grand Demons gently placed his thin right hand on Zhuowen's back. Black energy burrowed into Zhuowen's body. The energy was like a guide, guiding the Grand Demon battle chi in Zhuowen's meridians. It surged through Zhuowen's meridians several times faster than his cultivation speed. Boom! 3 days later, a voice that was like muffled thunder resounded out from within Zhuowen's body. After that, a wisp of a delighted smile appeared on the corners of Zhuowen's mouth as he muttered in a low voice. Cultivating the demon battle art to the 1st level in 3 days, this speed is really fast. Continue. With this speed, you'll probably reach the 3rd layer of the Grand Demon battle art in a month. At that time, you can attempt to break through to the Demon Emperor realm, the Lord of Grand Demons said indifferently. Zhuowen nodded, but he did not slack off at all. He continued to cultivate the Grand Demon battle art. With the Lord of Grand Demons' assistance, Zhuowen's cultivation speed could be described as tremendous. A month quietly passed by. Songjie was seated in the air above the blood pool. His pitch-black demonic eyes indifferently looked down at the enormous blood pool below, as his beautiful eyebrows slightly furrowed. Songjie, Zhou Bin, and Qin Exen stood silently beside Zhuowen, keeping a close eye on him so that Zhuowen had no chance of escaping. A month had already passed. He could sense that Zhuowen had not been completely refined. After all, if Zhuowen had been refined, the Grand Demon battle chi would have entered his body as energy. However, there was no sign of Grand Demon battle chi in the past month. Clearly, Zhuowen had not been completely refined. You really are tough. You haven't been completely refined even after staying in the sacrificial pool for a month. However, let's see how long you can last. I'll wait a little longer. As Songjie spoke, she slowly closed her eyes. However, just as she was about to close her eyes, the blood pool below suddenly surged. A pillar of blood shot up into the sky in an anti-clockwise manner. Like a blood python, it shot towards Songjie. Boom, boom, boom. The moment the first pillar of blood rose into the sky, countless pillars of blood continuously burst out from the pool of blood. They were like countless blood pythons that wrapped around Songjie. Humph! Songjie snorted coldly. His jade-like hand pressed down on the void. Billowing demonic aura gushed out and turned into a black cage covered with spikes, blocking the countless pillars of blood outside. The moment Songjie destroyed the countless pillars of blood, a terrifying emperor aura spread throughout the hall. It was as if the entire hall had sunk into a swamp at this moment. It was extremely heavy and stagnant. bang, bang, bang. Subsequently, Song Jie was shocked to find that the dome above the hall had completely collapsed at this moment, revealing the cloud-filled sky outside. Through the layers of clouds, Song Jie saw 9 incomparably huge stars descending from the void. The 9 stars were covered with billowing demonic aura. Monstrous demonic aura spread out like invisible ripples. The Emperor's star has descended? Did someone make a breakthrough? Song Jie was startled when he saw the 9 demonic stars descending from the gap in the roof of the hall. Soon after, he thought of Zhuowen's figure. He still remembered that Zhuowen was a peak heavenly sovereign. Now that the Emperor's star had descended, there was only one possibility. It was that Zhuowen had made a breakthrough. Damn it! That guy actually made a breakthrough at this time. Song Jie's eyes were filled with exasperation. He took a step forward and dodged the 9 demonic stars. When an Emperor Realm cultivator made a breakthrough, the laws of heaven and earth would descend. As soon as the 9 demonic stars descended, they would be protected by the laws of heaven and earth. Therefore, even if Song Jie wanted to stop Zhuowen from making a breakthrough, it would be difficult. At this moment, the blood pool was churning wildly. A horizontal blood path was split open in the middle. A tall and straight figure slowly stood up in the middle of this blood path. He lifted his head slightly, revealing a pair of alternating black and red demonic eyes. His alternating black and red long hair fluttered under the wild and violent wind. His long hair fluttered and danced in the wind. This person was Zhuowen of the demonic Tao. At this moment, his eyes were filled with indifference. With a wave of his right hand, the 9 demonic stars in the sky slammed into the pool of blood. Immediately, the entire hall trembled violently. The 9 demonic stars revolved around Zhuowen. Demonic cultivators are heaven-defying cultivators. In the process of breaking through to the Demon Emperor realm, they will be attacked by terrifying heavenly demons. Yin, be careful, the Grand Demon Lord warned Zhuowen from nearby. Zhuowen nodded. Soon after, his cold eyes stared at the 9 demonic stars that revolved around him. On the surface of the 9 demonic stars, there were countless terrifying demonic shadows that bared their fangs and brandished their claws. These demonic shadows laughed violently. The sound was sharp and ear-piercing, causing Zhuowen to frown slightly. Fight! Zhuowen was not afraid. He circulated the Grand Demon Battle Art. Surging Grand Demon Battle Chi appeared on the surface of his body, forming a pitch-black armor. A Grand Demon Spear condensed from Grand Demon Battle Chi appeared in his hand. Swoosh! Chapter 1208. Falling Demon Powder. Countless demonic figures danced wildly. Zhuowen's feet moved continuously within the demonic figures. The great demonic spear in his hand was swung repeatedly. Surging great demonic battle chi lingered around Zhuowen like a domain. Bang bang! The great demonic battle chi was extremely terrifying, especially after Zhuowen had broken through to the Demon Emperor realm. His fighting strength had reached an extremely frightening level. With a wave of the great demonic spear, a terrifying black spear shadow was formed around him. The demonic figures that were struck by the spear shadow screeched and scattered. In the sky above the edge of the blood pool, Song Dai quietly watched Zhuowen, who was engaged in an intense battle with countless demonic figures. His eyes had become extremely gloomy. If he intervened, he would be able to stop Zhuowen from continuing his breakthrough. However, a figure standing on the bloody path at the bottom of the blood pool caused Song Dai's footsteps to freeze. This old fellow is really tenacious. He is actually still alive? Song Dai hatefully muttered. His eyes were extremely cautious as he stared at the hunchbacked old man with a purplish-black face. He was aware that this old fellow was likely behind Zhuowen's breakthrough to the Demon Emperor realm. The ultimate demon master placed his hands behind his back. His pitch-black demonic eyes narrowed slightly. Immediately, they landed on Song Dai as an extremely cold glint was emitted from his eyes. Emoji, don't think that I cannot recognize you just because your spirit is attached to the little girl. The ultimate demon master stared at Song Dai and spoke in an indifferent voice. Emoji chuckled and said, "This is all thanks to you. If you hadn't destroyed my body, Would I have come up with such a plan to possess this girl's body? You reap what you sow. You actually dared to attempt a sneak attack on me. If I had not discovered it early, it is likely that you would have succeeded. The ultimate demon master's eyes were sinisterly cold as he spoke. The corners of Emojia's mouth were filled with mockery as he said, "How does the falling demon powder taste? This poison is specially made to deal with demonic cultivators like you. After being poisoned by the falling demon powder, the demonic power in your body will continue to scatter with the flow of time. When the last trace of demonic power in your body disappears, your life will also lose its final life force due to the corrosion of this poison." So many years have passed. How much mana do you still have left? The Grand Demon Master trembled when he heard these words. His eyes were bloodshot as he said in a deep voice, "Emojie, you despicable bastard, I will definitely kill you." As he said that, demonic chi surged out of the Grand Fiend Lord. This demonic chi was the same as Zhuowen's. It was also Grand Fiend Battle Chi. However, the Grand Fiend Lord's Grand Fiend Battle Chi was far denser and more terrifying than Zhuowen's. Just the aura that leaked out was like a mountain had enveloped the entire hall. It was extremely heavy and stagnant. The Grand Devil Lord clenched his right hand, and his Grand Devil Battle Chi condensed into a 10-foot-long halberd. It shot forward, leaving a pitch-black trail in the air as it instantly arrived in front of Emojia. Emojie's expression changed slightly. Her jade-like hand gently tapped the empty space before a 100,000 feet tall devil shadow appeared behind her. The devil shadow swung its right hand before an incomparably huge pitch-black long spear came crashing down like a mountain and heavily smashed against the large halberd that was shooting towards her. The dull sound of metal clashing resounded. Soon after, surging demonic chi spread across the entire hall like dark clouds. Soon after, a deafening explosion was heard. The 100,000 feet tall devil shadow actually took a few steps back from the collision. Every step it took back was like an earthquake, causing the entire hall to shake. However, the large halberd was also sent flying by the devil shadow and was caught by the Grand Devil Lord in the air. Second absolute, third absolute, fourth absolute, fifth absolute. How long are the four of you going to watch the show? Hurry up and stop Zhuowen from continuing his breakthrough. Once he survives the Devil Shadow calamity, even the four of you who are intermediate emperors will have difficulty dealing with him. After stabilizing the Devil Shadow, Emojie shouted at the four people who were in a daze. Zhou Bin, Songjie and the other two looked at each other when they heard this. In the end, they did not dare to disobey Emojie's order. They shot forward one after another, transforming into 4 black lightning bolts that instantly rushed towards the demonic Zhuowen, who was surrounded by countless devil shadows. Zhuowen, I think it's better for you to surrender. Zhou Bin was the first to arrive. He took a step forward, holding a large bronze axe in his hand. He raised it above his head and violently swung it down. It contained a great force that rumbled as it smashed toward Jun. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. The Grand Devil Spear in his right hand swept out and the countless devil shadows that surrounded him were completely swept away. Soon after, the Grand Devil Spear did not change as it was suddenly lifted. It was accompanied by a decisive aura as it rushed upwards. The sharp tip of the spear instantly pressed against the blade of the large bronze axe. Clang! The sound of metal clashing resounded. Soon after, Zhuowen frowned slightly and took a dozen steps back. Zhou Bin also took a few steps back. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the moment when Zhou Bin was forced to retreat, Songjie, Qin Xin, and Chuyu rushed in front of him in a flash. 3 fierce attacks came in an instant and completely sealed Zhuowen's whole body. Chaotic mortal world. Zhuowen suddenly retreated. At the same time, he flicked his right hand and took out the slaughtering oath-breaking blade. He slashed out fiercely. A mortal world fantasy spread out, causing Songjie, Qin Xin and Chuyu's attacks to stagnate. Their eyes were blurred. Destruction of life. The moment the 3 of them fell into the state of chaotic mortal world, Zhuowen took a step forward and slashed out with the slaughtering abstinence violation blade once again. Suddenly, the terrifying blade shadow fell from the void again. At this moment, The blade shadow formed by the slaughtering abstinence violation blade was many times more terrifying than before. After all, Zhuwen was using the body of a devil emperor. Coupled with the power of the slaughtering abstinence violation blade, the power of the slaughtering abstinence violation blade was much more terrifying than before. Rumble. When Songjie, Qin Xin, and Chu Yu slowly recovered from the mortal world essence, they were shocked to find that the blood-red saber shadow formed by the kill break had already crushed down. At that moment, the three of them were inexplicably horrified. They hurriedly launched an offensive, trying to block the terrifying saber shadow. Rumble. The three attacks fell on the blade shadow. Immediately, the blood-red blade shadow stopped in midair as if time had stopped. Then, an extremely terrifying explosion erupted. The blood-red light almost filled the entire hall. Songjie and the other two groaned and retreated continuously. Among the three of them, Songjie and Qin Xin were better off. One of them was a 5th-level emperor, while the other was a 4th-level emperor. Although Zhuowen's battle strength was extraordinarily terrifying after reaching the Devil Emperor realm, and the slaughtering oath-breaking blade's power was even more powerful, the two of them were only intermediate-level emperors. They could still withstand the explosive energy formed by the destruction of life. However, Chu Yu, who was beside the two of them, was only a 3rd-level martial emperor. Due to how terrifying the explosion was, Chu Yu's injuries were extremely serious. He clutched his chest with his right hand as his chest heaved violently. With a light cough, he actually coughed out a large mouthful of blood. Evidently, he had injured his source energy. At the moment when the three of them retreated, a figure swept over like an arrow. Then, before Songjie and Qin Xin could react, the figure had already arrived in front of the seriously injured Chu Yu. Die! A blade light swept out. Only then did Chu Yu realize that something was wrong. When he saw the blade light in front of him, it was already too late. He only had time to put his weapon in front of him. Clang! A blood blade fell on Chu Yu's weapon like a butterfly. The blood blade twisted and sent Chu Yu's weapon flying. Then, the blood-red blade light continued to sweep toward Chu Yu. Puchi! Blood spurted out. Chu Yu did not even have time to groan before he was cut into two by the blood-red blade light. Blood mist spurted out. After killing Chu Yu, Zhuowen hurriedly flew backwards. Soon after, a thick bronze axe landed at the spot where he had been standing. It was Zhou Bin who had rushed over from behind. Zhou Bin had originally planned to save Chu Yu. Unfortunately, he was still a step too late. Thus, at this moment his expression was somewhat ugly. His eyes were coldly staring at Zhuowen. His chilliness was as cold as the dead of winter. Songjie, Qin Xin, don't hold back. Attack together and kill this brat. Zhou Bin yelled and stepped out. The bronze axe in his hand whistled like a hurricane, rushing toward Zhuowen. Songjie and Qin Xin also nodded and rushed out. The three of them surrounded Zhuowen in a triangular formation. Fight! Zhuowen was not afraid. His body was surrounded by countless demonic shadows. He endured the pain of thousands of demonic shadows corroding his bones. His eyes were still filled with demonic indifference. He swung the slaughter oath-breaking blade in his right hand and the supreme devil spear in his left hand. He was not afraid of the three mid-level Emperor Realm experts in front of him at all. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, Zhou Bin and the other two clashed with Zhuowen. Then, there was the sound of weapons clashing. Although Zhuowen's strength had increased many times after he had become a Devil Emperor, he was still surrounded by three mid-level Emperor Realm experts. Therefore, Zhuowen was almost completely suppressed. Fortunately, the supreme devil battle chi around him was extraordinary. Even if the three mid-level Emperor Realm experts' attacks landed on him through his weak points, most of them were neutralized by the supreme devil battle chi. Only a small part of the attacks landed on his body, causing his blood and chi to boil. At the same time, on the other side of the hall, Mo Jie and the Lord of Supreme Devil were also engaged in a fierce battle. The terrifying shockwaves of their battle were like raging waves in the sea, filling more than half of the hall. Every time they collided, the hall would shake violently. Even the surroundings of the hall began to crack due to the shockwaves of their battle. Just as the battle between the two sides reached its climax, a figure suddenly rushed out of the passage outside the hall and entered the hall. The figure quickly arrived at the imprisoned Zhuo Wen of the demonic Tao. He patted Zhuo Wen of the Buddhist Tao with his right hand. Immediately, Zhuo Wen of the Buddhist Tao turned into a ray of golden light and turned into a golden Buddha's eye. The Buddha's eye drilled into the center of the figure's forehead. Chapter 1209. Black Demon Formation. What a cunning fellow! Emojia, who was engaged in a great battle with the ultimate Devil Master, also noticed Zhuo Wen's actual body, which had secretly slipped into the large hall. His eyes widened as he involuntarily cried out furiously. However, the ultimate Devil Master was in front of him. Although the fury in his heart soared, he was unable to move forward. Grand Demon Lord glanced at Zhuo Wen's main body, who was making small movements. He didn't seem surprised at all. In fact, Zhuo Wen had already told him about Zhuo Wen's doppelganger in the blood pool. Bang! A wretched figure suddenly flew out and heavily smashed into a stone wall on the side of the hall, causing a human-shaped hole to appear in the stone wall. Zhuo Wen, who had just put away his Buddhist doppelganger, had a drastic change in expression. The person who had smashed into the stone wall was none other than his demonic doppelganger. The combined might of 3 intermediate D-stage experts was terrifying. It was not something that the current Zhuo Wen could deal with, even though Zhuo Wen's demonic doppelganger had already advanced to the Devil Emperor level. Zhuo Wen's actual body? Zhou Bin, Songjie and Qin Xen looked at Zhuo Wen's actual body in the hall after defeating Zhuo Wen's demonic doppelganger. Zhuo Wen's eyelids twitched when he sensed their unfriendly gazes. The 3 of them exchanged glances and were about to attack Zhuo Wen's actual body below when Zhuo Wen suddenly spoke. Aren't all of you helping Tsang Dai to find an opportunity to advance to the advanced D stage? I can give all of you this opportunity. The 3 of them, who were about to charge at Zhuo Wen, stiffened when they heard this. Zhou Bin stared intently at Zhuo Wen as he frowned and said, "That's right. However, a little heavenly venerate like you can give us the opportunity to advance to the advanced D stage? You must be joking, right?" Songjie and Qin Xin exchanged glances. Their eyes were filled with suspicion. Clearly, they did not believe Zhuo Wen's words. At this moment, Zhuo Wen's demonic avatar rushed out of the human-shaped hole in the stone wall and landed beside Zhuo Wen's main body. Its demonic eyes coldly stared at Zhou Bin and the others. "Don't tell me that you believed Song Sa's words?" Zhuo Wen sneered. Zhou Bin snorted coldly and said, "Song Jie is possessed by the remnant soul of Lord Supreme Devil. Supreme Devil is the only expert in Pang Great World who has advanced to high-level monarch realm. If we don't believe him, do we believe you? Don't you think your words are ridiculous? The real Supreme Devil Lord isn't Song Dai, but that stooped old man. Don't you recognize Supreme Devil Battle Chi? Also, it's not the remnant soul of Supreme Devil Lord that's possessed Song Jie, but the remnant soul of the last sect master of Supreme Devil Sect, Emojia. You've all been deceived by Emojia," Zhuo Wen said flatly. Zhou Bin and the others narrowed their eyes at the same time. Their eyes fell on the battle between Emojia and Supreme Devil Lord. When they saw the Supreme Devil Battle Chi on Supreme Devil Lord, their eyes became slightly unsightly. In fact, they had already noticed the Supreme Devil Battle Chi on Supreme Devil Lord when the battle between Supreme Devil Lord and Emojia began. However, they didn't care too much about it. Now that Zhuo Wen reminded them, they also noticed something was wrong. They naturally knew about the Grand Demonic Battle method that the Grand Demonic Lord had created. However, Emojia, who they believed to be the Grand Demonic Lord, did not possess any presence of Grand Demonic Chi. Instead, the hunchbacked old man from the pool of blood possessed extremely pure Grand Demonic Chi. Zhou Bin and the others could not help but doubt Emojia's words. Could it be that Song Jie isn't Supreme Devil Lord at all, but just the last sect master of Supreme Devil Sect, Emojia, as Zhuo Wen said? That stooped old man is the real Supreme Devil Lord, but this old man doesn't seem to be very strong. Songjie frowned and said doubtfully. Zhuo Wen said indifferently, "Could it be that you didn't hear what the Grand Demon Lord said before? He was poisoned by the Demon Fall powder." Most of his demonic power has been dissolved by the demon fall powder. He doesn't have much demonic power left. All of this was done by Emojie. You're working for Mojie, but Mojie treats you like fools. I'm afraid that once he really suppresses Supreme Devil Lord, not only will the three of you not receive any rewards, but you might even be silenced by Emojie. Zhou Bin and the others became uncertain when they heard that. For a moment, they actually began to hesitate. What are the three of you still doing? Hurry up and capture Zhuan, then come help me deal with this old man. Emojie, who was fighting Supreme Devil Lord, also noticed Zhou Bin and the others who had suddenly stopped and couldn't help but roar angrily. Zhou Bin and the other two frowned when they saw Emojie's vile attitude. Emojie really treated the three of them as servants, ordering them around. This caused the three of them to feel extremely uncomfortable in their hearts. If Emojie was really Supreme Devil Lord, the three of them wouldn't disobey the promise that Emojie had made back then. However, after hearing Zhuowen's words, they began to doubt Emojie. Are you really Supreme Devil Lord? Zhou Bin suddenly asked Emojie in a deep voice. Emojie, who was fighting Supreme Devil Lord, had a slightly stunned expression. Just as he was about to speak, Supreme Devil Lord suddenly threw a punch at him, causing Emojie to snort and take dozens of steps back. Bullshit. If Capricorn is really the Lord of Extreme Devil, then what am I? Yi Zichen asked. This old man is the Supreme Devil Lord. Are the three of you blind? Emojie doesn't have Supreme Devil Battle Chi. He doesn't even know a Supreme Devil Battle Art. How can this guy be Supreme Devil Lord? Can the three of you use your brains? Supreme Devil Lord began to curse after forcing Emojie back. Clearly, he was filled with resentment towards Emojie for impersonating him. Emojie's expression changed slightly as he coldly said, I am the Supreme Devil Lord. You are a fake. You still want to argue? If you are Supreme Devil Lord, then show me your Supreme Devil Battle Art and Supreme Devil Battle Chi. Everyone knows how to do it, Supreme Devil Lord coldly said. As soon as these words came out, Emojie's face sank. The Supreme Devil Art was the core cultivation method of the Supreme Devil sect, and only the Lord of the Supreme Devil had the qualifications to practice it. Although he was the sect master of the Supreme Devil sect, he had never practiced such a supreme cultivation method of the Devil Dao. Sure enough, when Emojie was speechless, Zhou Bin and the other two's expressions also sank. How could they not know that Emojie was not Supreme Devil Lord? Otherwise, he wouldn't have remained silent when asked about Supreme Devil Battle Art. In other words, you have been playing us like monkeys? Zhou Bin said in a deep voice. There was a trace of anger in his voice. They were palace masters. Because they wanted an opportunity to break through to the high-level martial emperor realm, they joined the 10 Extremes sect under Mojie's promise and worked themselves to the bone for him. All of this was for the opportunity to break through to the high-level martial emperor realm. But now, Emojie was saying that it was all a lie. Zhou Bin and the other two's anger could be imagined. You are Emojie, not Supreme Devil Lord. Very good. You have deceived us for so long and made us use of you for so long. Very good. Zhou Bin took a step forward and a terrifying emperor's pressure spread out. Like a ray of blue light, he instantly swept towards Emojie. Songjie and Qin Xen exchanged a glance and followed closely behind Zhou Bin. The three of you are courting death. Emojie's expression was extremely ugly. He did not expect that such a melodramatic thing would eventually happen. Zhou Bin and the other two had actually turned against him at this moment. This had caught him somewhat unprepared. Boom, boom, boom. Emojie pressed his right hand down. Immediately, the huge demonic shadow behind him roared and swung the huge pitch-black spear in his hand. Pitch-black demonic chi billowed out. Zhou Bin was the first to face Emojie. With a roar, Zhou Bin smashed down his bronze axe with the power to split the sky. Songjie and Qin Xen, who were behind him, did not show any weakness. Each of them used their strongest moves. Emojie had deceived them too much. If they did not get rid of Emojie, they would not be reconciled. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, Emojie and the other two's battle clashed. Although Emojie's aura was also at the 5th level Martial Emperor realm, his battle strength was stronger than ordinary 5th level Martial Emperors. He was not at a disadvantage in the battle against Zhou Bin and the other twos. Instead, he had the upper hand. The Grand Demon Lord hovered silently to one side. He did not join the battle. Instead, he sneered as he watched Emojie and the other two's battle. "Senior, why don't you go up and help? I believe that with your strength and Zhou Bin and the other two's help, you'll be able to take down Emojie very quickly, right?" Zhuan suddenly asked the nearby Grand Demon Lord. The Grand Demon Lord shook his head slightly. "It's not as simple as you think. Moreover, I've been poisoned by a damned poison like the Demon Fall Powder. My demonic energy will decrease with every use. There's no need to waste it now. I'll take action once the three of them have exhausted most of Emojie's strength." "Demon Fall Powder? Is there no antidote for the Demon Fall Powder?" Zhuan asked in return. The Grand Demon Lord smiled gently. "The Demon Fall Powder is a poison without an antidote. Unless..." The Grand Devil Master glanced at Zhuan in a meaningful manner when he spoke until this point, but he did not continue. The expression of the Grand Devil Master caused Zhuan to feel puzzled. He did not know what the Grand Devil Master's gaze meant. "You three bastards, I want all of you to die," Emojie roared furiously. Emojie shouted angrily. His voice was full of anger. Although he had the upper hand in the battle with Zhou Bin and the other two, but after all, it was 1 against 3, so he would inevitably reveal some flaws. Therefore, some of the attacks of Zhou Bin and the other two still fell on Emojie's body. Emojie grimaced in pain and roared unceasingly. Emojie formed a complicated seal with his hands. Subsequently, a mysterious power began to revolve around him, forming a strange black formation around him. Chapter 12:10. In the Emperor's Mirror, Black Demon Array. Emojie spat out a cold voice. Soon after, the array around his body became increasingly solid. Finally, it soared into the sky and imprinted itself on the huge demonic figure behind him. Ooh. The demonic figure roared towards the sky. Soon after, its originally somewhat illusory body actually became quite real at this moment. The might on its body was also much more powerful and frightening than before. Boom boom boom. Soon after, the demonic figure took a step forward. Its huge demonic hand stretched out and blasted towards Zhou Bin and the other two in an attempt to completely suppress them. Zhou Bin and the other two's faces changed slightly. However, they were not to be outdone. Although they vaguely felt that the demonic figure was a little strange, they were not too concerned. Although Emojie was stronger than the three of them, there was a limit to his strength. The three of them were not afraid of Emojie. However, they were wrong this time. The Black Demon Array was Emojie's strongest move. Its power had vaguely reached the power of a 6th Heaven Emperor. It would be difficult for Zhou Bin and the other two to block this attack. Boom. The moment the demonic figure's fist came, Zhou Bin and the other two's faces changed. This was because they realized that the demonic figure's attack was actually many times stronger than before. Dang dang dang. Under this powerful attack, Zhou Bin and the other two groaned. Soon after, they were pushed back dozens of steps. Only then did they stare at the demonic figure in front of them in horror. All of you died. Emojie's face was a little pale. Clearly, using the Black Demon Array had a great impact on him. At this moment, he roared furiously. The demonic figure that was becoming more and more solid took a step forward. A pair of huge fists whistled through the air and blasted towards Zhou Bin and the other two. Giant Sky Axe. Zhou Bin suddenly swung the bronze axe in his hand. A strong green glow appeared on the surface of the axe and instantly turned into a huge axe that was a few 100 feet long. It carried an indomitable aura and blasted towards the demonic figure's fists. At the moment when Zhou Bin used his strongest move, Songjie and Qin Xen did not want to be outdone. They each used their strongest attacks. 3 terrifying attacks, like 3 bolts of lightning, burst out. Emojie snorted coldly. Mo Ying's fists seemed to contain a strange magical power. The moment they touched the huge axe, the axe was crushed. At the same time, the attacks of Songjie and Qin Xen were also broken by Mo Ying's fists. A miserable shriek sounded out. After the Devil Shadow's fist shattered 3 attacks, it did not lose any momentum and instantly landed on the body of Zhou Bin, who was charging at the front. Immediately, Zhou Bin let out a miserable shriek and directly exploded into a cluster of blood mist under the force of the fist. Not good. Songjie and Qin Exin paled when they saw Zhou Bin die tragically in front of them. They stepped on the void and turned around to flee. Zhou Bin was the strongest among the 3 of them. If Zhou Bin died tragically under the attack of the Devil Shadow, there was no need to mention them. Hee, you still want to escape? It's too late. Emojie's cold laughter filled the entire hall. Soon after, the devil figure formed 2 large demonic spears with both hands under her command. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 2 demonic spears were thrown out by the Devil Shadow. The whistling sound of the wind resounded throughout the hall. It was extremely ear-piercing. Songjie and Qin Exin did not have any power to resist the power of the 2 demonic spears. They were directly pierced through and exploded into a cluster of blood mist. Looking at this scene, Zhuowen's eyes turned cold. The power of the Devil Shadow was extremely terrifying. It was most likely at the 6th level Emperor realm. Zhou Bin and Songjie were at the 5th level Emperor realm, but they were unable to resist the attack of the Devil Shadow. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with fear. He quietly retreated behind the Lord of the Ultimate Demon. Perhaps only the Lord of the Ultimate Demon had the strength to deal with the huge Devil Shadow. Senior, can you deal with the current emoji? Zhuowen asked solemnly. The Lord of the Ultimate Demon narrowed his eyes and sighed softly. I'm afraid it'll be a little difficult. The Devil Shadow behind Emoji has already reached the 6th level Emperor realm after using the Black Demon formation. Although I was once a high-level Emperor, due to the Demon Fall powder and being trapped at the bottom of the blood pool for so many years, my demonic power has been reduced to less than a 10th. I'm at most comparable to a 5th level Emperor realm expert. It'll be a little difficult for me to deal with the current Devil Shadow. Zhuowen frowned slightly when he heard the Lord of the Ultimate Demon's words. The only person he could rely on was the Lord of the Ultimate Demon. If even the Lord of the Ultimate Demon could not deal with the Devil Shadow, there was no need to mention him. However, Emoji has placed almost all his power on the Devil Shadow. His own power is probably very weak. Therefore, if we can kill Emoji, the Devil Shadow will collapse on its own, the Lord of the Ultimate Demon suddenly said. Senior, what do you mean? Zhuowen could vaguely guess what the Lord of the Ultimate Demon was thinking. I'll keep the Devil Shadow busy while you wait for an opportunity to kill Emoji in a single stroke. Only then will we have a chance at victory, the Lord of the Ultimate Demon said sternly. Zhuowen nodded seriously when he heard that. It was indeed as the Lord of the Ultimate Demon had said. This was the only method they could try right now. What are the 2 of you blabbering on about? Why don't you die already? Emoji's cold gaze immediately landed on Zhuowen and the Lord of the Ultimate Demon. If it weren't for the 2 of them, Zhou Bin and the others would not have turned against him, let alone force him to use the Black Demon formation. As a result, Emoji's hatred for Zhuowen and the Lord of the Ultimate Demon was monstrous. The Black Demon formation was his greatest trump card. Once he used it, the side effects would be extremely severe. He would never use a secret technique like the Black Demon formation unless he had no other choice. But now that Zhuowen had used it, how could he not be furious? Emoji, don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you've used the Black Demon formation. The Lord of the Ultimate Demon warned Zhuowen again before suddenly taking a step forward. His great demonic battle chi surged out from him as he shot towards Emoji in a single moment. He moved extremely quickly, like a black bolt of lightning. Lord of the Ultimate Demon, you've been poisoned by the Demon Fall powder for so many years. Basically all of your demonic energy should be gone by now. I can tell from the battle earlier that you're only a 5th layer Emperor. There's still some distance between you and 6th layer Emperor. You're dreaming if you want to stand up to me right now. Emoji licked his dry lips as he watched the Lord of the Ultimate Demon charge over. A cruel light flashed through his eyes. As long as he refined all of the Lord of the Ultimate Demon's great demonic battle chi, He might be able to break through his shackles and successfully reach High Emperor. Of course, he would not let Zhuowen go either. After all, Zhuowen's demonic clone possessed great demonic battle chi as well. He had to obtain all of that. Boom. The Lord of the Ultimate Demon arrived in front of the Devil Shadow in an instant. 2 enormous great demonic spears had already formed in his hands. Wild demonic aura swept out like a monstrous tsunami. The Devil Shadow roared as he also formed a terrifyingly large demonic spear in his hands. Subsequently, he clapped his hands together and shot towards the Lord of the Ultimate Demon. Bang bang bang. Explosions continuously spread across the entire hall. Soon after, a muffled groan was heard. The Lord of the Ultimate Demon had actually fallen into a disadvantage in this exchange. He took a couple of steps back with a muffled groan while the Devil Shadow remained unmoving like a boulder. The Devil Shadow took advantage of his victory to pursue. He took a step forward and his 2 spears shot towards the Lord of the Ultimate Demon like a pair of extremely demonic pythons. The Lord of the Ultimate Demon's expression was a little ugly. Moreover, the purplish-black chi on his face had become even denser, causing his face to turn blurry. It was impossible to see his facial features clearly. Clearly, the demon fall powder had a profound effect on the Lord of the Ultimate Demon. Old bastard, you should die quickly and fulfill my wish. I will allow the Ultimate Demon sect to once again stand tall in this panicked great world and become the strongest overlord above the 7 prefectures. Moreover, I will be able to fulfill your final wish and challenge the protectors again to enter the upper world that you have never seen before. Emojia's ferocious voice resounded. The Devil Shadow had already arrived in front of the Lord of the Ultimate Demon. His 2 huge spears rushed over with an unstoppable momentum. Monstrous demonic clouds spread and almost enveloped the entire hall. At this moment, the hall became completely dark. Looks like I will also have to go all out. Hopefully, Thuan will not disappoint me. The Lord of the Ultimate Demon coughed a couple of times. His face became increasingly dispirited, as though he had aged over a decade. His eyes, which were filled with the vicissitudes of life, pierced through the gap in the demonic clouds and landed on Zhuowen, who was quietly watching the battle. Subsequently, the demonic clouds suddenly surged upwards and directly drowned the Lord of the Ultimate Demon's hunched body. Looking at Yao Ji in the Emperor Mirror, Cui Wei in the Demon Army Hall. An ancient sigh slowly reverberated within the demonic clouds the moment the Lord of the Ultimate Demon's body was completely drowned by the demonic clouds. After which, the demonic clouds churned violently. The monstrous Devil Shadow and the 2 spears that had rushed out seemed to have stopped time as they paused on the demonic clouds in front of the Lord of the Ultimate Demon. What is going on? Emojia's pupils shrunk. He could sense a frightening power from the demonic clouds. This power gave him the feeling of facing a towering mountain. Bang! The demonic clouds churned with increasing intensity, appearing like a monstrous tsunami. Finally, the Devil Shadow under Emojia's feet roared and took a couple of steps back due to a mysterious force. His demonic eyes looked at the demonic clouds in front of him with some fear. When the demonic clouds gradually dispersed, a gigantic demonic body calmly appeared in front of Emojia. That demonic body was tens of thousands of zhang tall and was covered with ferocious-looking armor. His face was covered with a black mask, only a pair of pitch-black eyes could be seen. They were extremely deep, as if they were bottomless abysses. How terrifying! Chapter 1211. Emojia is dead. Clearly, the Grand Fiend Lord had used some sort of secret technique. His current aura was many times stronger than before. Thuan, I can only maintain this state for 20 breaths. I will create an opportunity for you during this time. You must find the right opportunity to approach Emojia's actual body. At the very least, you need to severely injure him. Otherwise, we will no longer have a chance. A voice was transmitted into Zhuowen's ears. It was the Grand Demon Lord's voice. Zhuowen was startled. He quickly replied, "Elder, don't worry. I will definitely live up to your efforts." The Grand Fiend Lord did not reply. Instead, he took a step forward and shot towards the demonic shadow. He did not have much time left. He only had 20 seconds, so he did not waste too much time on a message. Boom boom boom. In an instant, the Grand Devil Master's 100,000 feet large demonic body and Emojie's demonic figure violently collided. The two of them began to engage in a physical battle like prehistoric beasts. The aftershock from the collision of their bodies was like countless bombs exploding, causing an extremely frightening explosion to reverberate throughout the hall. Zhuowen's expression turned cold as he watched the terrifying collision between the two. His heart trembled. Both the Grand Demon Lord and Emojie were currently at the 6th level of the Emperor realm. Every move they made possessed earth-shattering power. Even Zhuowen, who had advanced to the Demon Emperor realm, would find it difficult to endure the shockwaves. Although his heart trembled, Zhuowen continued to watch the battle very seriously. He knew that the Grand Demon Lord would create an opportunity for him very soon. Sky-piercing demonic fist. The Grand Demon Lord roared furiously. He threw a punch and countless demonic clouds churned. Endless black fist shadows surged around the demonic clouds like a tsunami, instantly sweeping towards the devil figure. Emojie's expression changed slightly. He formed a seal with his right hand and slapped the devil figure's shoulder. Immediately, the devil figure's demonic aura increased by several times. He raised both his hands and pitch-black demonic flames surged out, forming an extremely thick wall of fire in front of him. The demonic fist has the power to soar to the heavens. Your demonic flame can't block it. The Grand Devil Master roared. Fist force surged out and heavily smashed into the demonic flame wall. Soon after, the entire hall shook violently. A crack began to appear on the ground due to the shaking. Moreover, this crack continued to expand. Finally, it formed an extremely frightening abyss. The walls of the hall also began to crack. Countless rocks poured down like rain. Break! Grand Demonic Lord's aura was like a rainbow as he exhaled lightly. The demonic flames in front of him crumbled as his fist landed on the demonic shadow. Thud thud thud. The specter wailed and actually retreated. Capricorn, who stood on the specter's shoulder, suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood. Her face paled as she stared at the Grand Demon Lord in shock. She had never thought that the Grand Demon Lord would be able to unleash such a terrifying attack. Right now. Zhuowen, who had been paying attention to the battle, stepped out and 3 pairs of lightning wings appeared on his back. He turned into a blue lightning and flew towards Capricorn, who was on the shoulder of the demon shadow. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. When Capricorn noticed the sound behind him, he felt his heart tremble. His feet moved and his body was immediately displaced. Meanwhile, Zhuowen, who had turned into a bolt of lightning, heavily slammed his hand where Capricorn had been. Bastard, how dare you launch a sneak attack on me? Emojie was initially startled when he saw Zhuowen in front of him. Soon after, a furious expression appeared in his eyes. Zhuowen was just like an ant in his eyes. Yet, Zhuowen actually dared to launch a sneak attack on him from behind. Moreover, Zhuowen had nearly succeeded. Die! Capricorn took a step forward. His right hand turned into a palm as he hurled it at Zhuowen. Pitch-black demonic chi lingered on his right hand like black tentacles. Zhuowen frowned and immediately used the grief treasure seal of the 7 emotions treasured seals. At the same time, he used the anger and love treasured seals on himself to increase his combat strength. Capricorn frowned when he felt the inexplicable sorrow on his body. He felt that his strength was weakening under the effect of the grief treasure seal. Boom! At the same time, Zhuowen threw a punch and heavily hit Capricorn's right palm. A violent force burst out between the two of them. Then, Zhuowen's pupils shrank as he realized that there was a terrifying force coming from Capricorn's right fist. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on him. Zhuowen spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Although Capricorn's strength was far inferior to the demon shadows, he still had the strength of a 4th heaven emperor. With Zhuowen's peak heavenly master strength, it was difficult for him to deal with Capricorn. Buddha Demon Eye, kill. However, at the instant Zhuowen was blasted flying, a crack split open between his brows, and then the Buddha's devil eye shot out explosively. It split into 2, and it transformed into a Buddha's body that was illuminated by Buddhist radiance and a devil's body that was covered in surging devilish clouds. Chaotic mundane. Life-breaking. As soon as the demon emperor's avatar appeared, he waved the slaughter abstinence blade in his hand and used chaotic mundane. A mundane concept gushed out and lingered, causing Capricorn's body to freeze. At the same time, he used life-breaking. A huge and terrifying blood-red blade shadow fell from the void and fell directly on Capricorn's head. When Capricorn regained consciousness, the terrifying blade shadow was already very close to him. Capricorn roared, planning to control the demon shadow to block the attack for him. Don't even think about borrowing the demon shadow's power. At this moment, Taimo Lord had already arrived in front of the demon shadow. A storm of attacks fell on the demon shadow, making it impossible for the demon shadow to save Capricorn. Damn it! Capricorn cursed. Helplessly, he could only face the terrifying blood-red blade shadow head-on. He raised his right hand and demonic chi gushed out, turning into a 3-meter-long halberd. He raised his right hand and met the huge blade shadow in the sky. Rumble! The halberd and blade shadow collided. Capricorn's expression changed slightly and he began to retreat. After retreating more than 10 steps, he barely managed to stop himself. A trace of blood leaked from the corner of his mouth. Boundless Buddhism. While Capricorn was busy dealing with the blood-red blade shadow, Zhuo, one of the Buddha Dao, rushed in from the side. The light wheel behind his head began to expand continuously until it was hundreds of feet in size. At the same time, the 9 flames of karma gushed out from Zhuo, one of the Buddha Dao, lingering around the light wheel, causing the light wheel to emit 9 colors and a mighty power. Bastard! Capricorn cursed. His expression was extremely ugly. Because he had used the black demonic formation and Taimo Lord's terrifying punch, he was already heavily injured. Now that 2 of Zhuowen's clones were attacking him at the same time, Capricorn's injuries worsened. With no other choice, Capricorn grasped at the air with his empty left hand. Demonic chi gushed out, forming a thick black barrier in front of him. Boom! The 9-colored halo slammed into the black barrier, causing it to tremble violently as if it could collapse at any moment. Within the black barrier, Capricorn vomited another mouthful of blood. His face paled even further. Swoosh! At the same time, demonic Dao Zhuo 1 and Buddhist Dao Zhuo 1 rushed out at the same time, arriving in front of Mo Jie in the blink of an eye. Demonic Dao Zhuo 1 slashed out with the slaughter abstinence violation blade in his hand, whereas Buddhist Dao Zhuo 1's right hand formed an orchid finger and pointed out. Boundless Buddhism energy rushed out. The black barrier and halberd collapsed at the same time. Capricorn vomited another mouthful of blood as he was blown away. He slammed heavily into the stone wall to the side, basically embedding himself in it. Oh! The devil shadow let out a sorrowful cry before collapsing an inch at a time. The ferocious black armor on the surface of the Grand Devil Master's body slowly peeled off. His 100,000 feet large devil body slowly shrank, and finally turned back into a hunchbacked old man. However, the current Grand Devil Master was even older than before. The black chi on his face had become even denser. It was almost impossible to make out his facial features and appearance. Cough, cough. Taimo Lord coughed violently a few times. His hair had basically turned white, making him seem like a person in his twilight years. He seemed extremely ancient. Zhuan landed in front of Taimo Lord. As he looked at Taimo Lord, who was currently extremely weak, a sliver of pity appeared in his eyes. Speaking of which, most of the credit for defeating Capricorn was due to Taimo Lord. If Taimo Lord had not stopped the demonic shadow, Zhuan would not have been able to approach Capricorn's main body and defeat him. Don't worry about me for now. Go see if Capricorn is dead or not. If he's still alive, eliminate him completely. Taimo Lord waved his hand and said to Zhuan. Zhuan nodded when he heard that. With a thought, Buddhist Zhuan turned into a golden mountain and arrived in the human-shaped pit where Capricorn was. Capricorn was currently in an extremely miserable state. His eyes had basically lost all light. He was close to death. Don't kill me, Capricorn could not help but cry out when he noticed Zhuan. Zhuan completely ignored Capricorn. With a wave of his right hand, the flames of the 9 flames surged out and enveloped Capricorn. With a miserable cry, Capricorn was directly reduced to ashes by the flames. After killing Capricorn, Buddhist Zhuan returned with demonic Zhuan to Zhuan's side under the command of his main body. They both stared at Taimo Lord, who was growing older. There's no need to look at me like that. I've already been poisoned by the demon fall powder. Coupled with the fact that I've used a secret technique to forcefully increase my strength earlier, my demonic energy is basically all gone. I won't be able to live for much longer, Taimo Lord said with a self-deprecating smile. Looking at Grand Devil Lord, Zhuowen's eyes revealed a trace of sadness. Grand Devil Lord was definitely a rare genius. If he had not been betrayed by Capricorn and ambushed, with his talent, he would have been able to recover from his injuries and improve his cultivation. Then he might have been able to defeat the guardian of panicked macro world and smoothly reach the more exciting upper realm. Unfortunately, the heavens were toying with him, and he had ended up like this. Cough cough. I'm about to die anyway, so I'll just treat it as doing a good deed before I die. Zhuan, your demonic Dao avatar is a genius demonic Dao cultivator, and this old man's understanding of the demonic Dao is even deeper than yours. Although with your talent, surpassing this old man in the future might not be a problem, your current understanding of the demonic Dao cannot compare to this old man's, Grand Devil Lord calmly said. Chapter 12:12. The true face. I am already about to die, but I do not want my inheritance to end here. You have already practiced my grand demonic battle art, and you possess grand demonic battle chi. My inheritance is perfect for you, the grand demonic lord coughed a few times and said in an extremely weak voice. Zhuowen's eyes flickered when he heard that, especially when he saw the hopeful look in the grand demonic lord's eyes. Zhuan nodded and bowed. I do not dare forget Senior's kindness. The grand demon lord nodded in a gratified manner. He smiled, come before me and sit down. I'll pass on all my cultivation experiences to you first. These experiences will be much more precious to your future path of demonic cultivation. Without a doubt, it will make your path much smoother. Zhuan nodded and arrived before the Grand Demonic Lord. He sat down and stared at the Grand Demonic Lord, who had become much older. He sighed inside. The Grand Demonic Lord was definitely a legendary existence in the panicked great world, yet he had been reduced to such a state. It really made one sigh. The Grand Demonic Lord also saw the sigh on Zhuowen's face. He shook his head and smiled in a carefree manner. Everyone will die one day. Just who in this world can live forever and obtain eternity? Zhuowen nodded. The Grand Demonic Lord was right. Just who in this world could live forever? Even warriors of the Imperial Power Realm and even the Pilgrimage Realm would die of old age. They just had a longer lifespan than ordinary warriors and were more powerful. However, it was still impossible to achieve eternity. Open your mind. I will pass on all my experiences to you, the Grand Demonic Lord said in a deep voice. Zhuowen's eyes flickered when he heard that. He hesitated for a moment. Although the Grand Demonic Lord did not seem to have any ill intentions, Zhuowen still felt that it was inappropriate for him to open his mind in front of another cultivator. However, there was nothing wrong with what the Grand Demonic Lord had said. If the Grand Demonic Lord wanted to pass on his experiences and information, he needed to open his mind and allow his power to enter his sea of consciousness. Zhuowen, I do not have much time left. The Grand Demonic Lord coughed a few more times. His voice became even weaker and stuttered. Zhuowen nodded. In the end, he chose to believe the Grand Demonic Lord. He closed his eyes and opened his mind. A gleam of light erupted from the Grand Demonic Lord's eyes. Subsequently, he extended 2 fingers of his right hand and landed on Zhuowen's forehead. Energy surged into Zhuowen's forehead. Zhuowen felt a chill between his eyebrows. Then, a huge amount of information surged into his sea of consciousness. This information was basically the Grand Demon Lord's experiences over the years of demonic cultivation. Only when he read through the information did Zhuowen truly relax. Clearly, the Grand Demon Lord had not lied to him. He truly did plan on passing on all his years of experience as a demonic cultivator to him. The Grand Demonic Lord had passed on an extremely large amount of information. Zhuan estimated that he would need half an incense stick of time to pass on everything. Therefore, he was in no hurry. He quietly waited and digested the information in his sea of consciousness. After half an incense stick of time, Zhuan had basically completely opened his mind. At the same time, he continued to comprehend the information and experiences the Grand Demonic Lord had passed on to him. However, he did not realize that a sharp, cold light had erupted from the Grand Demonic Lord's eyes at some unknown point in time. He formed a seal with his empty left hand, and the black chi on his face gathered at the fingertips of his left hand. Boom! Afterward, the Grand Demonic Lord's left hand shot out as if he had teleported. He pressed it against Zhuowen's chest, and the dense black chi instantly burrowed into Zhuowen's body like a black python. Zhuowen felt his chest tighten. His eyes snapped open, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He stared at the Grand Demon Lord in front of him. Only then did he discover that the Grand Demon Lord's empty left hand had pressed against his chest at some unknown time. Wave after wave of pitch-black energy surged into his body like a rainbow. "What are you doing?" Zhuan had already discovered that something was amiss. He roared out furiously, and the energy within him erupted in an overwhelming manner in an attempt to blast the Grand Demonic Lord away. However, the moment Zhuowen's energy surged out, it was forcefully suppressed by the black energy that had invaded his body. He was unable to use it at all. "It's useless. The poisonous gas of the demon fall powder is extremely tolerant. It can even disperse energy," the Grand Demonic Lord sneered. His voice was as ear-piercing as an owl's. Zhuowen's eyes turned cold. He finally realized that the black chi the Grand Demonic Lord had injected into his body was the poisonous gas of the demon fall powder. "Why are you doing this?" Zhuowen's eyes became colder and colder. However, the Grand Demonic Lord smiled. He said indifferently, "You're still so naive. I've cultivated for several hundred years. How can I be willing to die like this? I want to break through to an even higher level of cultivation and reach the legendary upper world. Dying like this would be far too much of a pity." "So you've set your sights on me?" Zhuan growled. With that, Zhuan roared out furiously. Immediately, the Buddhist and demonic Zhuan behind him shot out towards the Grand Demonic Lord at the same time. Due to the demon fall powder, he was unable to use any strength at all. He could only rely on his Buddhist and demonic clones. "Have you forgotten that I have 2 clones?" Zhuan said coldly. He actually did not fear the Grand Demonic Lord because he possessed 2 clones. After all, the Grand Demonic Lord was already on the verge of death. However, the Grand Demonic Lord revealed a strange smile. He said, "How could I forget?" As he spoke, the Grand Fiend Lord raised his head slightly. He stared at the 2 clones calmly. When the 2 clones were about to approach the Grand Fiend Lord, the demonic clones suddenly froze. Afterwards, he suddenly threw a demonic punch. However, he did not throw it at the Grand Fiend Lord. Instead, he threw it at the Buddhist clone beside him. Boom! Caught off guard, the Buddhist clone was directly struck by the demonic Lord's clone. He was sent flying and heavily smashed into the stone wall to the side. The powerful impact caused the entire hall to shake violently. What's going on?" Zhuowen's pupils constricted when he saw this scene. Just now, his demonic avatar had actually broken free from his control and suddenly attacked his Buddhist avatar. "Ha! Do you still not understand? When I helped your demonic lord break through in the pool of blood, I was already preparing for this," said the Grand Demonic Lord. The Grand Demonic Lord enjoyed seeing the shock on Zhuowen's face. He could not help but chuckle aloud. Zhuowen's face was extremely ugly. As it turned out, the Grand Demonic Lord had already been scheming against him at the bottom of the pool of blood. It was laughable that he had believed the Grand Demonic Lord was sincerely helping him. However, what surprised him was how the Grand Demonic Lord had managed to control his Demonic Lord's clone. "Your Demonic Lord's body is very perfect. It's basically made for me. If I use the Demonic Lord's clone, I believe I can create even more glorious strength," The Grand Demonic Lord glanced at the expressionless Demonic Lord beside him and smiled faintly. Everything you said to me before was a lie? Zhuowen said coldly. The Grand Demonic Lord teased, if I didn't say that, would you have fallen for it? Would you have wholeheartedly helped me deal with the Capricorn? Zhuowen's face had become terrifyingly sunken. The Grand Demonic Lord was truly a great schemer. He had failed to discover anything earlier, which had led to him taking a huge tumble. Now, your original body will be the vessel for the demon fall powder in my body. The Grand Demonic Lord's lips curled into a cruel arc. Soon after, the black aura in his left hand became even denser. It basically surged into Zhuowen's body like a spiral, causing Zhuowen to vomit blood again. A sliver of black aura slowly appeared on his face, and his facial features became slightly blurry under the black aura. The black aura on the Grand Demonic Lord's face gradually dimmed, and his facial features became clearer. Clearly, the demon fall powder was not an incurable poison. At the very least, the Grand Demonic Lord could transfer it to someone else to break free from the demon fall powder. Bastard! Zhuowen's eyes burned with fury, but there was nothing he could do. Basically, all his energy had been suppressed by the Grand Demonic Lord through a strange method, using the demon fall powder that had surged into his body. As a result, he was unable to use any of his strength at all. Swoosh! The Buddhist avatar rushed out from the stone wall and pounced forward once more. Unfortunately, it was intercepted by the demonic avatar. The great battle between the Buddhist and demonic avatars erupted with intense energy. However, Zhuowen's demonic avatar had already advanced to the Demon Emperor realm, while the Buddhist avatar was only at the peak of the Empyrean realm. Thus, the Buddhist avatar was suppressed by the demonic avatar as soon as it came into contact with the demonic avatar. However, the Buddhist clone's body had yet to reach the level of indestructibility, so it really was rather difficult for the demonic clone to kill the Buddhist clone. Calm down. In your current situation, there might be other ways to deal with it. Xiao Hei's voice suddenly rang out, causing Zhuowen to gradually calm down. He frowned and said, Xiao Hei, my original body has been sealed, and the demonic clone has been controlled by the Grand Demonic Lord. Is there another way? Of course there is a way. Wait until this old guy finishes transferring the poison from the Devil Fall powder. He should be planning to seize your demonic doppelganger. At that time, it will be your only chance to counterattack. But now, you need to wait patiently, Blackie said lightly. Zhuowen frowned when he heard that. In the end, he believed Xiao Hei's suggestion. The fury in his eyes gradually faded, replaced by indifference. The Grand Demonic Lord also noticed the change in Zhuowen's expression. Although he was slightly surprised, he did not pay too much attention to it. He believed that Zhuowen had accepted his fate, which was why the fury in his eyes had vanished. When the last strand of demon fall powder entered Zhuowen's body, the black mist on Zhuowen's face had become so dense that his facial features were no longer visible. The Grand Demonic Lord slowly stood up and shook his sleeve. Black demonic energy surged out, turning into a black rope that bound Zhuowen. Chapter 12:13. Resources. Your demonic Dao clone possesses demonic battle chi and has reached the 3rd level of the demonic battle art with my help. This demonic body is perfect for me. The Grand Demonic Lord looked at his demonic Dao clone with burning desire in his eyes. When he saw Zhuowen's demonic Dao clone in the sacrificial pool, he had already secretly planned to possess it. However, due to Emojia's existence outside the pool, the Grand Demonic Lord did not immediately take action. Instead, he quietly helped Zhuowen break through so that he could help him deal with Emojia. After defeating Emojia, the Grand Demonic Lord had finally revealed his fangs. At the same time, he used the hidden trump card he had hidden in Zhuowen's body. The Buddhist clone had been completely suppressed by the demonic Dao clone. Under the Grand Demonic Lord's orders, the demonic Dao clone used demonic power to imprison the Buddhist clone on the spot. The Grand Demonic Lord extended his right hand and pressed his thumb against the demonic Zhuowen's forehead. The latter did not resist at all. He stared at the Grand Demonic Lord in a daze. Souls come and go, the Grand Demonic Lord murmured. Soon after, A wisp of black light surged out from his forehead. The black light burned even brighter. In the end, it turned into a black line that shot towards the demonic Dao clone's forehead. The demonic Dao clone did not resist. Like a puppet, he stared blankly at the Grand Demonic Lord. Swoosh! Around 5 seconds later, the black line on the Grand Demonic Lord's forehead completely entered the demonic Zhuowen's body. The Grand Demonic Lord's withered body slowly closed his eyes. He fell to the ground like a pile of mud without making a sound. Clearly, the Grand Demonic Lord had transferred his spirit to the demonic Zhuowen's body. Now is the time. A deep voice rang out. Soon after, a wisp of black light shot out from the forehead of Zhuowen's main body. It turned into the figure of Xiao He. It was Xiao He. At the same time, Zhuo Wen, who was imprisoned by the magic power, flicked his finger and summoned the demon-sealing green coffin. Although he couldn't move now, Blackie could. With a wave of Blackie's tiny claws, he grabbed the demon-sealing green coffin and gently patted it on the coffin lid. Suddenly, the demon-sealing green coffin began to grow wildly, expanding to dozens of feet. Then, the coffin lid opened by half, and a suction force directly sucked the demonic avatar in. It just so happened that the Grand Demonic Lord's spirit had entered the demonic Dao clone. Before he could adapt to his new demonic Dao body, he was devoured by the demonic sealing green coffin. Although he wanted to resist the suction force, he was powerless. After a short stalemate, he was devoured by the demonic sealing green coffin. The green coffin closed, and the hall returned to peace. The Grand Demonic Lord had miscalculated this time. He had miscalculated that there was still an existence like Xiao He in Zhuowen's body. If he had known, he probably would not have tried to possess Zhuowen right in front of Xiao He, nor would he have given Xiao He such an opportunity. Boom, 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 boom. As soon as the demonic sealing green coffin closed, it began to shake violently. Soon after, the Grand Demonic Lord's wild roars rang out. He had managed to possess the demonic Dao clone after so much difficulty, but now he was being suppressed by the demonic sealing green coffin. How could he not be furious? Unfortunately, the demonic sealing green coffin was a treasure that specialized in restraining demonic creatures. Demonic cultivators possessed demonic energy as well. Under the restrictions of the demonic sealing green coffin, most of the demonic energy was unable to unleash much of its power. Although he cursed furiously within the coffin, he was unable to leave. The Grand Demonic Lord is not simple. Fortunately, the demonic body he possessed was only at the first layer of the Demon Emperor. If it was a high-level Demon Emperor, the demonic sealing green coffin might not have been able to suppress him. Xiao He murmured softly with narrowed eyes. Xiao He, it's time for you to remove the restrictions on me, right? Zhuowen said in a deep voice nearby. Xiao He shrugged and arrived on Zhuowen's shoulder. With a wave of her little claw, she removed the restrictions on Zhuowen. She looked at Zhuowen, whose face had turned black, and said, "You need a scapegoat to remove the poison from your body." With the restrictions removed, Zhuowen regained his freedom. He slowly stood up and nodded, "Yes." However, the demonic falling powder has a great effect on demonic cultivators. It doesn't have much effect on ordinary people, so there's no need to rush. With that, Zhuowen looked at the demonic sealing green coffin and said, "How should we deal with the Grand Demonic Lord?" The blood demon is in the demonic sealing green coffin. Let the blood demon teach the Grand Demonic Lord a lesson first, and let him know how to behave. After a period of time, when the old fellow is exhausted, we can release him. At that time, we can completely erase the old fellow's soul, Xiao He chuckled. Hearing this, Zhuowen nodded. The blood demon still existed in the demon sealing green coffin. This blood demon was an ancient sacred-level living being. Its bloodline was extremely powerful. Although its origin was damaged and its strength was greatly reduced, its strength was not something that the demonic Dao doppelganger, whose cultivation was only at the first Heaven Demon Emperor realm, could compare to. Sure enough, after the Grand Demonic Lord vented for a long time in the green coffin, a miserable shriek was emitted. Zhuowen and Xiao He knew that the Grand Demonic Lord had likely encountered the blood demon inside. After Zhuowen sat cross-legged and recuperated for a while, he kept his Buddha avatar. Soon after, he began to size up the surroundings of the large hall. He knew that the great demon sect in the past was very glorious in the panicked great world. It must have left behind many good things. The sacrificial blood pool contains extremely dense blood power. It will be quite beneficial to the blood demon. Throw the demonic sealing green coffin in and let it absorb the blood power inside, Xiao He suddenly said. Zhuan nodded when he heard this. He beckoned with his right hand and threw the demonic sealing green coffin into the blood pool. Immediately, an extremely terrifying blood-red vortex swept out from the center of the blood pool. He could clearly see the blood power in the pool surge into the demonic sealing green coffin in the form of a line of blood. Zhuan, thank you very much. A heavy voice rang out in Zhuowen's head. Zhuowen knew that it was the blood demon's voice. He chuckled softly and said, "Help me teach the Grand Demonic Lord a good lesson. Also, my promise from before still stands. Once I become so powerful that you cannot threaten me, I will set you free. However, the prerequisite is that you cannot do anything to harm me before I set you free. You will even have to listen to my orders. If something like what happened to the Qingxian Empire happens again, you can forget about ever breaking free from the demonic sealing green coffin." The blood demon fell silent when he heard that. Soon, the blood demon's voice rang out again, "All right. I was foolish last time. I apologize to you. If you keep your promise, I will not harm you in the future." "That's good. Help me take good care of the Grand Demonic Lord," Yun nodded with a smile. TSK. Don't worry, I will take good care of him." With that, the Grand Demonic Lord's hysterical screams rang out from the demonic sealing green coffin again. However, Yun was completely indifferent to it. Instead, he began to search the hall. He would not let go of the resources of the Grand Demonic Sect. They were indispensable resources to the Zhuo family. After searching for half a day, Yun failed to discover anything. This made Zhuowen frown slightly. "Could go over there and take a look." Xiao He suddenly pointed at a dilapidated seat at the edge of the hall. The seat was made from piles of bones, but it was currently damaged. It seemed rather ancient. Zhuan had indeed subconsciously ignored the seat of bones when he searched the hall earlier. Now that Xiao He had mentioned it, it seemed that the seat of bones was not as simple as it seemed. Zhuowen's eyes were quickly drawn to a skull below the seat when he arrived before it. The main reason why he was drawn to it was because the skull was extremely complete. It did not show any signs of damage. The entire seat of bones was damaged, and only the skull was complete. It was a huge loophole in itself. Zhuan bent down and tried to pick up the skull with his right hand. Soon after, he discovered that the skull seemed to have taken root in the ground. It could not move at all. What a strange skull. Zhuan narrowed his eyes and did not pick it up. Instead, he carefully examined it for a while. His right hand gently rotated, and the skull, which was originally like an iron hoop, was smoothly rotated. Soon after, the sound of a mechanism activating rang out. "Is it a switch?" A glint shot out from Zhuo Wen's eyes. Soon after, he clearly saw the white bone seat slowly sink as the entire large hall began to shake intensely. Soon after, Zhuo Wen clearly saw the stone wall in front of the large hall begin to slowly collapse, revealing a dark space behind it. There's actually another world. Inside, could it be the resources of the Great Devil Sect ruins? Looking at the scene behind the stone wall, Zhuan could not help but be stunned on the spot. This was because he discovered that the space was filled with many spiritual stones. In addition to spiritual stones, Zhuan also saw many weapons, spiritual herbs, jade slips, secret manuals, and many other resources. Stepping into the space, Zhuan looked at the items in shock. Most of the spiritual treasures were Emperor's spiritual treasures. There were more than a dozen Emperor's spiritual treasures. One of them was even a mid-level Emperor's spiritual treasure. Most of the spiritual herbs were 6th and 7th grade spiritual herbs. Occasionally, there were 8th grade spiritual herbs mixed in. However, the number of such spiritual herbs was extremely small. Found the Great Devil Sect ruins, obtained the truth of the Great Devil Sect's decline, and also found out the whereabouts of the Great Devil Lord. The mission of the second heaven has been completed. An indifferent voice rang out in Zhuowen's mind, causing Zhuowen's body to tremble. He knew that the owner of the voice was the Zonglong Taoist. He did not expect that the mission would be completed by him just like that. I have to return after completing the mission. If I can't take these things with me, wouldn't it be a waste? Zhuowen looked at the many resources in front of him, his heart filled with reluctance. If he took these resources out, it would be beneficial to the Zhuo family and the others. However, the space in his spirit ring was limited. He could not take so many things with him. Chapter 12:14. Free entry. I can actually enter and exit this world freely. Doesn't that mean that I can also bring the others in the Azure Dragon Hall in? Zhuowen's eyes flickered. The flow of time in this world was 365 times faster than the outside world. A year here was a day in the outside world. What the Zhuo family lacked the most now was time. As long as the Zhuo family was given enough time, the Zhuo family would be able to completely grow stronger. Yes, but the others are not qualified to challenge the Guardian. Only if you defeat the Guardian and pass the mission of the third heaven and earth will the others be qualified to enter the third heaven and earth. The cold voice once again sounded in Zhuowen's mind, causing Zhuowen to nod slightly. There's no rush now. Let's deal with the Lord of Supreme Demon first. Since he could bring people in, Zhuowen was not in a hurry to collect the resources in this space. He planned to give all the resources in the Supreme Demon Sect ruins to the Zhuo family and Lu Hantian. He hoped that they could grow stronger as soon as possible so that they would have more confidence in facing the Blue Dragon Hall in the future. With that, Zhuowen came to the blood pool and sat down silently. The blood power in the blood pool was extremely surging. It would probably take some time for the blood demon to completely absorb it, so Zhuowen needed to wait. Now that my demon body has broken through to the Demon Emperor realm, I wonder when my main body will successfully advance to the Demon Emperor realm? Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Zhuowen frowned slightly. Although his human body cultivation had reached the peak of the Empyrean realm for some time, he still hadn't felt the opportunity to break through. However, he also knew that the more talented a genius was, the more difficult it was to break through to the Demon Emperor realm. If his demon body didn't rely on the help of the Lord of Supreme Demon, it wouldn't be so easy for him to break through to the Demon Emperor realm. Boy, I'm afraid it's more difficult for your main body to break through than for your demon body and Buddha body, Xiao He said in a deep voice as she appeared on his shoulder. But Zhuowen asked curiously. After a moment of silence, Xiao He said, "It's mainly because of me. Once you break through to the Emperor realm, I will recover most of my soul origin under the power of the Emperor Star. At that time, I will bestow you with an extremely powerful dragon skill. However, because my origin energy is far too vigorous, ordinary Emperor Stars are unable to recover my origin energy. If you can't accumulate enough star energy for my origin energy to recover, you won't be able to break through to the Emperor realm." Zhuowen also fell silent. Then he stood up and scolded Xiao He. "You dog, Xiao He, are you trying to trick me? No wonder I couldn't break through even though I felt like I had accumulated enough. It's all because of you." Xiao He coughed dryly and quibbled, "Boy, you should be content. Once your main body breaks through to the Emperor realm, with my help, your battle prowess will definitely be more terrifying than your demon body and Buddha body." "Then what if I can't break through?" Zhuowen's gaze was rather unfriendly. If you can't break through, you can only blame your lack of talent. It has nothing to do with me." Xiao He shamelessly pushed the blame onto Zhuowen. Seeing Xiao He's shameless behavior, Zhuowen's face darkened. However, he was not truly angry. Instead, he thought to himself that it would be quite difficult for his main body to break through to the Emperor realm because of Xiao He. You can try the Emperor's tomb. Many Emperor realm experts have died there. If your main body wants to break through to the Emperor realm right now, you can only rely on accumulating and absorbing enough star energy. When that time comes, you'll be able to break through to the Emperor realm, Xiao He said in a heavy voice. Zhuowen nodded. Xiao He was right. Since a barrier had appeared out of nowhere in his main body's cultivation because of Xiao He, if he wanted to break through this barrier, then he could only accumulate sufficient strength. I have to try the Emperor's tomb, but let's deal with the Zhuo family first. Also, there's less than a year left before the cold poison in Mu Qinshue's body disappears. I need to hurry to the Jiaxin Academy before the 3 years are up, Zhuowen frowned. Xiao He nodded and continued, let's deal with the Lord of the Grand Demons first. After a while, the Lord of the Grand Demons should be exhausted by the blood demon in the demon-sealing green coffin. When that happens, I'll take the opportunity to enter his body and grab his soul. Zhuowen had no objections to that. Xiao He's attainments in spirits were extremely high. Even if the Lord of the Grand Demons had been a high-level demon emperor when he was alive, his soul was probably not a match for Xiao He. Let's wait first. Zhuowen quietly sat down as he spoke. He waited for the demon-sealing green coffin to finish absorbing the power of blood. A month slowly passed. The pool of blood in the hall had already dried up a little. A 10-foot large blood coffin stood quietly at the bottom of the pool. This blood coffin was the demon-sealing green coffin. Due to the blood demon, the demon-sealing green coffin surface had already been covered by a blood-red color, making it look extremely strange. Bang! The blood coffin suddenly trembled. Immediately, it shot out and smashed into the ground a short distance away from Zhuowen. The terrifying force caused the entire hall to tremble. A hole slowly opened in the blood coffin. Immediately, an extremely miserable figure landed on the ground from the blood coffin. This figure was the demonic body that the Lord of the Grand Demons had possessed. However, the Lord of the Grand Demons' current condition was clearly not very good. His face was extremely pale, and his body twitched violently as if he was having a seizure. Swoosh! The moment the demonic body was released, Xiao He rushed out and directly entered the spot between the demonic body's brows. Around 10 breaths' time, Xiao He once again rushed out from between the demonic body's brows. However, her little claws were holding a small black person. This small person's face was exactly the same as the Lord of the Grand Demons. Clearly, this was the spirit of the Grand Demons. After the spirit of the Grand Demons was extracted, Yuan immediately regained control over the demonic body. A thought passed through his mind, and the demonic body slowly stood up. It silently stood behind Zhuowen. What method did the Lord of the Grand Demons use to so easily seize control of my demonic body? Zhuowen muttered to himself. His gaze landed on the spirit of the Grand Demons. Although he seemed to be talking to himself, he was actually asking the Lord of the Grand Demons. The spirit of the Grand Demons trembled. He had never thought that he would end up like this. In particular, Xiao He's spirit was so powerful that he felt like it was as vast as an ocean. His spirit was like an ant before Xiao He, unable to withstand a single blow. If I tell you, will you let my soul live? Grand Demon Lord asked with a hopeful look in his eyes. Zhuowen sneered. He extended a finger with his right hand, and a sliver of the 9 flames karmic fire surged out. It landed on the Grand Demon's body, immediately burning the Grand Demon's right arm to ashes. Soon after, the spirit of the Grand Demons let out a miserable shriek. Do you still have the right to negotiate with me right now? If you don't want to die right away, then hurry up and tell me, Zhuowen said indifferently. The Grand Demons endured the pain of his spirit being burned. As a result, he gritted his teeth and growled. The reason why I placed the 2 statues in the Bountiful Treasures Pavilion back then was actually as a precaution. I tampered with the Grand Demonic Battle Chi in there. If someone absorbs the Grand Demonic Battle Chi, I'll gain control over that person's body. That's why I was able to take over your body so easily. Old fox, you sure have a lot of plans. Zhuowen was startled. He originally thought that the 2 statues in the Bountiful Treasures Pavilion were treasures, but he never thought that they would be time bombs. He had almost ended up helping the Grand Demons. The Grand Demons hurriedly smiled fawningly. I'm actually very useful to you. I created the Grand Demonic Battle method that you cultivate, so I can help you reach a high level of it quickly. That way, you'll be able to break through much faster. Zhuowen shook his head with a bitter smile. Once bitten, you'll always be afraid of ropes. It's not very likely that I'll trust you. With that, Zhuowen shot a meaningful glance at Xiao He. Xiao He chuckled. The soul of a high-class emperor is quite a good tonic. The Grand Demon's face finally changed drastically when he heard that. He could imagine what Xiao He was going to do next, so he hurriedly begged for mercy. Unfortunately, Xiao He did not give him any chance to beg for mercy. She suddenly opened her mouth and swallowed the grand demon's soul. At the same time, she smacked her lips and muttered that it didn't taste very good. I'll make a trip out of the second world first. I'll bring grandfather, brother Han Tian, and the others in first. With a thought, Hun slowly vanished from the hall after dealing with the grand demons. When he opened his eyes, he appeared in the square of the Azure Dragon Hall once more. Zhuo Xiangding, Lu Hantian, and many others were currently gathered around the square. Everyone stared at Zhuan in a daze. They remembered that Zhuan had only vanished recently, so why had he returned now? Zhuan was not surprised. The flow of time in the second world was vastly different from the outside world. He had only stayed in there for a little over a month, so only a little over 2 hours had passed outside. Zhuan, why have you come out so quickly? Zhuo Xiangding walked up and asked in confusion. Lu Hantian, Elder Shiwan, Zhuo Xiangding, Luo Xing, and Qing Lian gathered around Zhuan as well. Their eyes were filled with doubt. Clearly, they shared the same thoughts as Zhuo Xiangding. Zhuan was surprised. Afterwards, he explained the flow of time in the second world to them. Only then did everyone understand. At the same time, when Zhuan told them that he could bring people in and out of the second world freely, they all erupted into an uproar. What a cultivator needed the most for cultivation was time. As long as you had enough time, coupled with certain opportunities, it was only a matter of time before you broke through the shackles. No matter which force it was, if they wanted to have a deep foundation, they would need a lot of time to accumulate. Chapter 12:15. Ryakazuoan looked at the people around him. Including the members of the Zhuo family and the core members of the Celestial Empire that Lu Hantian had brought, there were only 200 to 300 people in total. Such a number was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot for a large force. It might not even be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. Thinking of this, Zhuan slowly floated in the air and looked down at the crowd. His loud voice rang out, "Everyone is now in the same boat. With this Azure Dragon Palace, you will obtain endless benefits. However, you will have to pay a certain price and contribute accordingly." Zhuo Xiangding led the members of the Zhuo family and looked up at Zhuan quietly. Their eyes were full of respect. Yin was the pride of the Zhuo family. They naturally followed Zhuowen's lead. Whatever Zhuowen said, they would do. However, Zhuowen's words were not for the Zhuo family, but for the people of the Celestial Empire. Zhuowen, the Azure Dragon Palace is indeed amazing. If you have any requests, just say it. I, Lu Hantian, will be the first to listen to you. Lu Hantian stepped forward and nodded at Zhu. This old man is already so old. I can't make the decision myself. Listening to Zhuo Xiaoyu is also a good choice. Elder Shiwan smiled and came to Lu Hantian's side. The 5 servants led by Zi Yang, as well as LV Tao, Qing Lian, Luo Xing, Miao Lu, and the others all stood out. They stared at the figure in the sky with determined gazes. Although they did not say anything, their attitudes had already made their intentions clear. Since Lu Hantian and the other higher-ups had expressed their opinions, the others had no objections. They all looked at Zhuowen and waited for Zhuowen to continue. I want to establish a force called Ryuka. Are you willing to join this force called Ryuka? Zhuowen said slowly. Although his voice was calm, there was a hint of excitement in his tone. It was obvious that Zhuowen's mood was not as calm as he looked on the surface. Ryuka? As soon as these words came out, many people in the Celestial Empire were stunned. They quickly thought of the super force Ryuka that dominated the entire eastern continent 10,000 years ago. Back then, Zhuan was chased by Emperor Qing. It seemed that Zhuan was a Ryuka's descendant. Zhuan, and even the entire Zhuo family was a clan descendant of the Ryuka. I'm willing. Zhuo Xiangding took the lead and shouted. His eyes were filled with excitement. They were Ryuka's descendants and had changed their appearances for countless years. Now they could finally restore their own surname. Of course, now was not the time to truly stand tall in the eastern continent and bring the Ryuka to greater heights. However, Zhuan had made a good start. Lu Hantian's eyes were as calm as water. He was the first to know that Zhuan was a Ryuka's descendant. Therefore, When Zhuan proposed to establish a Ryuka force today, he was not surprised at all. I, Lu Hantian, am willing to join. Lu Hantian laughed. As soon as Lu Hantian spoke, Elder Xuan, Miao Lu, Lu Yitao, Luo Xing, Qing Lian, and the others all spoke in agreement. The eyes of the people from the Celestial Dynasty flickered, and they all agreed to join the Long family. When Zhuowen said that the Azure Dragon Hall was a divine spirit treasure, they knew that following Zhuowen would have a limitless future. A saint-level spiritual treasure was enough to cultivate an extremely terrifying force. In the mysterious Nine Serenities realm in the Eastern continent, those powerful forces all had their own saint-level spiritual treasures. Therefore, the forces in the Nine Serenities realm were generally much stronger than those in the outside world, and the Nine Serenities realm was known as a paradise for experts. Floating in the air, looking at the responses of the people below, he smiled and nodded. His heart was filled with pride as he said loudly, "Ryuka will rise in the Azure Dragon Hall. In the future, its name will spread throughout the Eastern continent and even the Heavenly Armor continent. Now, I will bring you to the second heaven." As he spoke, Zhuan waved his sleeve. Suddenly, the entire square was filled with a mighty force of space, enveloping everyone. Then, everyone disappeared from the square. When everyone came back to their senses, they found that they had arrived at a large hall. However, what made everyone frown was that the hall was filled with corpses. In the center of the hall, there was a dried-up pool of blood. It was like a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Some of the women in the crowd trembled in fear when they saw this scene. Their beautiful faces were incomparably pale. This scene was too bloody. Anyone who saw it would feel a little uncomfortable. Looking at the doubts in everyone's eyes, Zhuan briefly explained some of the things that happened when they entered the panicked world. Only then did everyone feel relieved. At the same time, they were quite afraid of the Lord of Extreme Demon that Zhuan mentioned. Fortunately, Zhuan had already dealt with him. That space contains all the resources of the Extreme Demon sect. It can be used to develop our Ryuka. In the future, our Ryuka will take root in this panicked world. When our Ryuka has a certain foundation, we will be able to reappear in the Eastern continent. The Blue Dragon Hall will not be able to do anything to us. Zhuowen pointed at the space in front of them and said in a clear voice. Following the direction that Zhuowen pointed at, everyone saw that there were many resources piled up in that space. There were spirit stones, spirit herbs, spirit treasures, cultivation method secret books, and so on. However, most of the cultivation method secret books in the Extreme Demon sect were related to devil cultivation. Other types of cultivation method secret books were relatively rare. Big Brother Hantian, Grandfather, and Elder Xun, in the future, the three of you will be the leaders of the Ryuka. These Ryuka people will all be under your control. Also, you should distribute these resources. It would be best if you do it fairly. Zhuan suddenly said to Lu Hantian, Zhua Xiangding, and Elder Xuan, "The panicked world is very large. We can first establish a base of Ryuka in the panicked world and absorb new blood in this world to strengthen the power and influence of the Ryuka." The three of them nodded. Zhuan's idea was not bad. This panicked world was an isolated world created by the Tsang Long Taoist with his supreme saint power. It was undoubtedly the safest place to develop the Ryuka. At least, they did not need to be remembered by the Blue Dragon Hall and have an accident. After a little arrangement of everyone's matters, Lu Hantian, Zhua Xiangding, and Elder Xuan entered the space and began to distribute the resources inside. If there were any surplus, they planned to keep it first and use it later. At the same time, they were also preparing to set up some reward systems. Good things must be given to warriors who have contributed to the Ryuka or to geniuses with great talent. Of course, these were all in the future. After all, the Ryuka had not been established yet. In about a month's time, the resources of the Extreme Demon sect had been distributed fairly under the arrangements of Lu Hantian, Zhua Xiangding, and Elder Xuan. Many people in the Ryuka did not have any objections to the arrangements made by the three of them. Of course, the Extreme Demon sect was an extremely large force after all. The resources contained in it could not be all plundered by more than 200 people in the Ryuka. Most of the resources were already in the hands of the Ryuka higher-ups and would be used as the foundation for the continued development of the Ryuka in the future. Then, we plan to take the Ryuka people to the 7 prefectures and develop our Ryuka there. On this day, Lu Hantian came in front of Zhuan and said to Zhun. Zhun was sitting cross-legged on the blood coffin. When he heard Lu Hantian's words, he slowly opened his eyes and said, "If we want to develop the Ryuka, we should go to the 7 prefectures. Brother Hantian, you can take the Ryuka people there. Here is a map of the 7 prefectures and the dreamy cloud swampland. You can go to the Great Tsang Prefecture to develop your forces. I have a more detailed map there." After saying that, Zhuan flicked his finger and handed a jade slip to Lu Hantian. The latter took the jade slip and looked at Zhuan in surprise. "Thun, don't you plan to go with us?" Thun shook his head and said, "No. There are many devil cultivation scriptures in the great devil sect ruins. I plan to comprehend all of them. Perhaps it will be of great benefit to the promotion of my Devil Dao avatar." Upon hearing this, Lu Hantian nodded his head and did not try to persuade Zhuan any further. At this moment, Zhuan gave him an extremely powerful feeling, especially that demonic avatar. Just the demonic aura emanating from its body caused Lu Hantian to feel a little apprehensive. He did not doubt that if he were to fight against this demonic avatar, he would not be able to withstand even one blow. Thinking back to the little guy who was only at the Ultimate Emperor stage back then, and now he had reached a level that even he had to look up to, Lu Hantian couldn't help but sigh in his heart. However, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Although Zhuan's talent was a little abnormal, he, Lu Hantian, wasn't weak either. Especially with the help of the powerful soul treasure of the Azure Dragon Hall, Lu Hantian believed that his cultivation would be able to advance by leaps and bounds. Then, after we confirm the address of Ryuka, I will personally make a trip to the Dream Cloud Swampland and give you the address of Ryuka. If you come out of seclusion, you can come to Ryuka to take a look." Lu Hantian said to Zhuan again. Soon after, Zhua Xiangding and Elder Xuan began to arrange for people to leave the Great Devil Sect ruins and head to the 7 prefectures. "I want to accompany Big Brother Zhua here." A clear voice sounded out. Following which, Miao Lu walked briskly to Zhuan's side and quietly looked at the calm expression on Zhuan's face. Looking at the stubborn expression on Miao Lu's face, Lu Hantian felt a little helpless. He could only let her be and did not stop her. Although Miao Lu's cultivation was low, Zhuan's strength was extremely strong and it was more than enough to protect Miao Lu. Luo Xing and Qing Lian looked at each other and actually left the group. They came to a place not far from Zhuan and quietly sat cross-legged in the hall. Obviously, the 2 women were the same as Miao Lu. They also planned to stay and accompany Zhuan. This kid really has good luck with women. Lu Hantian was stunned. He immediately scratched his head and said with a little jealousy. Elder Shun, who was standing at the side, shook his head and said, "I say, Old Han, you should dress yourself up neatly and wash your face. Your luck with women will also be good." Lu Hantian stared and groaned. "I say, Shun, what do you mean? I am already handsome enough. If I deliberately dress up, there will be countless beauties throwing themselves at me. That will be troublesome. It is better to be like this now, low-key, low-key." Chapter 12:16. Cunning Lu Hantian led everyone out of the Grand Demon statue very quickly according to the map Zhuan had given them. Over 200 people headed towards the Grand Tsang Prefecture of the 7 prefectures in a mighty fashion. They planned to develop a base there. Zhuan remained seated in the hall. Over the past month, Lu Hantian had already cleaned up the bloody hall. Although the light was a bit dim, it was still a lot cleaner and tidier. At this moment, Zhuowen's main body slowly opened his eyes, and he was rather speechless as he looked at Qing Lian and Luo Xing who sat cross-legged nearby and Miao Lu who stood before him with a pair of watery eyes. "Why are the 3 of you in the hall?" Zhuowen suddenly asked. Hee, Brother Zhua, I just want to stay with you. I feel safe with you," Miao Lv replied without any hesitation. However, as if she had realized that there was some ambiguity in her words, Miao Lv covered her mouth with her right hand. Like a child who had done something wrong, She no longer dared to say anything else. Qing Lian and Luo Xing looked at each other and smiled resplendently. We have the same thoughts as Miao LV. Zhuowen shrugged when he heard the same answer from the three women. He felt somewhat helpless. Luo Xing and Clear Lotus had made good progress in their cultivation. They had already reached the initial stage of the heavenly venerate realm. However, Miao LV's cultivation was a little weak. She was only at the ultimate emperor realm. However, Miao LV was the youngest. Her talent was already pretty good for reaching the ultimate emperor realm at such a young age. Brother Zhuo, how long do you plan on staying here? Miao LV seemed to have forgotten the awkwardness from before and asked again. Zhuowen's eyes flickered. With a wave of his sleeve, he summoned his demonic and Buddhist clones. After having the two clones cultivate in another corner of the hall, Zhuowen's eyes flickered. It might take a year or two. I've been poisoned by the Lord of the Grand Demon's demon fall powder. Although it doesn't pose much of an obstruction to my main body, it's still a poison, so I'll need some time to expel it. Miao LV, Qing Lian, and Luo Xing were not surprised that Zhuan had two clones. Zhuan had already told them about his clones. Then we'll wait for you to expel the demon fall powder from your main body, Luo Xing said seriously. Zhuan nodded. My demonic body's cultivation has already reached the level of a demon emperor. If the three of you have any questions about cultivation, feel free to ask my demonic body. It will answer some of your questions about the way of the martial way. With that, Zhuowen slowly closed his eyes and began to expel the demon fall powder that the Grand Demon Lord had planted in him. Although the Grand Demon Lord had said that there was no cure for the demon fall powder, Zhuowen discovered that the celestial force he had fused with an immortal stone was actually able to expel the poison from the demon fall powder. However, the immortal stone could only be used once a day, and there was an extremely large amount of demon fall powder in his body. The Lord of the Grand Demon had accumulated the poison in his body over the past century. It was extremely terrifying, so Zhuowen estimated that it would take him a year or two. Fortunately, the flow of time in the panicked Great World was completely different from the outside world. A year here was only a day in the outside world, so he had plenty of time and was not in a hurry to leave the panicked Great World. Moreover, the Great Demon Sect had so many demonic cultivation scriptures, which were extremely beneficial to his demonic body. Zhuan believed that if he stayed here for a few years, his demonic body might be able to break through the shackles and reach the level of a second or even third-layer demon emperor. Its power would become extremely terrifying. Time slowly passed. In the hall, Zhuowen's main body was basically using celestial force to expel the demonic qi in his body. Moreover, he discovered that as he continued to use the immortal stone, the formation in the immortal stone seemed to be perfecting itself. The time it could continue to fuse with celestial force was also constantly increasing. After this discovery, Yun could be said to be wild with joy. He worked even harder to use the immortal stone to expel the demon fall powder poison. After a year passed, Zhuowen's main body slowly opened his eyes, and his gaze erupted with a dazzling bright light. Because he noticed that after expelling the poison for a year, the time the immortal stone could continue fusing with immortal energy could actually reach 10 times a day. What was even more surprising to him was that the strange formation within the immortal stone actually possessed the ability to repair itself. Previously, the self-repair ability was not very obvious, so Zhuan did not notice it. However, due to the stimulation of the demon fall powder, the self-repair ability of the formation in the immortal stone had obviously sped up a lot, which made Zhuowen pleasantly surprised. Zhuowen knew that since the formation in the immortal stone had the ability to self-repair, it was only a matter of time before the formation completely recovered. However, whether it would take a long time or a short time was not something Zhuowen could guess. After the demon fall powder was completely expelled, Zhuowen's complexion became much better. He slowly stood up and stretched. Luo Xing, Qing Lian, and Miao LV also saw Zhuowen stand up and stood up one after another. Luo Xing came before Zhuowen and said, "Half a year ago, Senior Han Tian came here once and gave me the address of Ryuka." With that, Luo Xing flicked her finger and handed a jade slip to Zhuowen. Clearly, the jade slip recorded the address of Ryuka. After flipping through it, Juan discovered that Lu Hantian had established Ryuka's forces in Heaven's Vault City in the northwest corner of the Great Song Prefecture region. It was said that half a year ago, they had already developed Ryuka to such an extent that it might have already become the strongest force in Heaven's Vault City. Let's go take a look at Heaven's Vault City. With a wave of his sleeve, Yuan withdrew his Buddhist and demonic clones into his body. Soon after, he led the three women out of the ruins of the extreme demon sect. The surroundings of the dreamy cloud swampland were still filled with mist. The statue of the extreme demon lord stood silently in the center of the swampland. Wrapped in mist, it seemed so mysterious and distant. Xiaohei, you've woken up. As soon as they walked out of the statue of the extreme demon lord, Juan was surprised to discover that Xiaohei, who had remained motionless in his sea of consciousness, had actually woken up. He remembered that a year ago, Xiaohei had fallen into a deep slumber after devouring the soul of the extreme demon lord. She planned to completely digest the soul of the extreme demon lord. Kid, are you planning to leave the statue? Xiaohei suddenly asked in surprise. Zhuan nodded. Soon after, he briefly recounted the events that had occurred over the past year. Soon after, he discovered that Xiaohei had descended into silence. After a while, Xiaohei once again opened its mouth and said, "Brat. After this dragon lord absorbed the soul of this grand fiend lord, I discovered something." What is it? Zhuan asked in confusion. The extreme demon lord still had a trick up his sleeve. After all, he's a high-level demon emperor. His own essence is still extremely powerful. Although the extreme demon lord's demonic power has mostly been exhausted because of the demon fall powder, his own essence is still. Xiaohei's voice suddenly came to an abrupt halt. Zhuan narrowed his eyes and said in shock, "You're saying that the extreme demon lord's essence is still hidden somewhere?" Actually, after the extreme demon lord transferred all the demon fall powder to your body, there was no need for him to take over your body. However, he chose to do so. Don't you find it strange? Xiaohei said in a deep voice. Zhuan's eyes were a little dark when he heard this. He nodded and was silent for a moment. Then, he waved his sleeve and took out a huge ship. This ship was a flying soul treasure that Zhuan had found in the ruins of the extreme demon sect. This ship was called the Black Cloud Sail. There was a black cloud-like sail on its main mast. When it was unfurled, it was like a dark cloud that covered the sky. That was why it was called the Black Cloud Sail. Let's take this Black Cloud Sail to Firmament City in the Great Songfu region. Zhuowen said with a smile. Luo Xing and the other two girls nodded. After the four of them sat on the Black Cloud Sail, a strange black cloud spread out around the Black Cloud Sail. With a whoosh, it turned into a black bolt of lightning and shot toward the periphery of the dreamy cloud swampland at an extremely fast speed. Not long after the Black Cloud Sail left, a figure surrounded by surging demonic aura appeared at the forehead of the statue of the extreme demon lord. The figure only revealed a pair of black demonic eyes, which were filled with monstrous hatred. That damn Zhuan. I never thought that there would be such a terrifying existence in his body. He actually managed to devour the soul of my body so easily, causing me to be heavily injured. I will not let this matter rest. The figure shrouded in black gas hatefully glanced at He Yunfan, who was leaving in the distance, then took a step forward. Demonic chi surged out of his body as he charged in the opposite direction. However, as soon as he shot off, a terrifying force shot towards him. Thump, thump, thump. The figure was caught off guard and was knocked back by the force. He stared at the figure that had suddenly appeared in front of him in shock and cried out, You really are a sly old fox. You actually have a clone. No wonder you gave up on your body and possessed my weak demonic body. So you have clones as well." At this moment, demonic Dao Zhuowen was shrouded in demonic chi. He stood in the air and looked down at the Grand Demon Lord's clone. The Grand Demon Lord's clone wasn't very powerful. It was only at the first level of Emperor Realm. Due to the damage to its soul, its battle prowess was probably weaker than ordinary first-level emperors. However, it possessed an extremely powerful source. It was the source of the Grand Demon Lord's high-level demon emperor. It was a pity that the extreme demon lord's soul was just too heavily damaged. Although he possessed the origin energy of a high-class demon emperor, he was unable to immediately use it and convert it into his own strength. The extreme demon lord's clone probably planned on taking the origin energy with him and hiding somewhere to cultivate. He would only emerge once his cultivation recovered. At that time, he would probably come for revenge against the 7 prefectures and Ryuka. The extreme demon lord's clone was a scourge. Zhuan could not allow him to live. Chapter 12:17. Black Cloud Sail. However, the Grand Demon Lord did not flee for long before a golden light surged over. Subsequently, the Grand Demon Lord backed away with a sunken expression. Behind him, the Buddhist Zhuan narrowed his eyes. The light wheel behind his head shone with a dazzling Buddhist light. Grand Demon Lord, you won't be able to escape today. The demonic Zhuan took a step forward and pressed his right hand down. Surging Grand Demon Battle Chi turned into endless demonic clouds that crushed down. The Grand Demon Lord roared. He grabbed with his right hand, and a monstrous demonic claw appeared in an attempt to break through the demonic clouds. Bang! Unfortunately, the Grand Demon Lord's demonic claw was nowhere near its peak. It only lasted for a while in the demonic clouds before collapsing. The Grand Demon Lord spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. By the time he returned to his senses, Yun had already arrived in front of him. Zhuan extended his right hand and grabbed the Grand Demon Lord's neck. His cold eyes stared at the Grand Demon Lord, causing his heart to tremble. Let me live. I'm willing to become your servant. The Grand Demon Lord screamed at the top of his lungs. After all, his throat was in Zhuan's hand, so his voice was naturally a little abnormal. He clearly understood that he was no match for Zhuan with his current strength. As a matter of fact, given Zhuan's hatred for him, it was very likely that Zhuan would kill him. Hence, he immediately begged for mercy, hoping that Zhuan would spare his life. Oh, you're willing to become my servant? Zhuan was a little surprised by the Grand Demon Lord's tact and asked in surprise. The Grand Demon Lord replied bitterly, "Do you think I have any other choice? If I don't yield, only death awaits me." Zhuan nodded when he heard this. He grabbed the Grand Demon Lord's neck with his right hand and formed a complicated seal with his left hand. At the same time, Zhuan pulled out a strand of mental energy from his Naiwan palace. It turned into a small golden snake and entered the Grand Demon Lord's forehead, forming a golden imprint. This is a slave imprint. Since I have planted a slave imprint in you, you are my slave. Your life is under my control, Zhuan said calmly. This slave seal was a secret technique in the Myriad Evolution scripture. It was a secret technique that specialized in enslaving other martial artists. It was even more reliable than the method Zhuan had used to control Xiang and the other 4. The reason why Zhuan hadn't used it back then was because he hadn't cultivated the Myriad Evolution scripture to the point where he could extract mental strength to control other martial artists. The Grand Demon Lord naturally sensed the terrifyingly powerful seal on his forehead, and a sliver of sorrow appeared in his eyes. He knew that once Zhuan planted a slave imprint in him, he would become Zhuan's servant for the rest of his life. However, it was fortunate that he could escape death. After planting the slave imprint, Zhuan spread out his hands and said, "Give me your source energy." The Grand Demon Lord's face stiffened. He sighed softly and waved his sleeve. Immediately, the surging demonic aura around him gathered on his right hand. In the end, it turned into a black ball in his right palm. Dense demonic aura lingered on the surface of the black ball. Zhuan immediately sensed the Grand Demon Battle Chi in his body spin at a crazy speed after taking the black ball from the Grand Demon Lord. It seemed to crave the black ball in his hand. This black ball actually contains such dense demonic origin, Zhuan muttered with narrowed eyes as he sensed the wild Grand Demon Battle Chi in his body. Obviously, this is the origin of a high-rank demon emperor. How can it not be dense? Xiao Hei's disdainful voice rang out in his head. Zhuan shrugged. His gaze landed on the Grand Demon Lord again. He said, "You should know how to use this demonic origin, right?" The Grand Demon Lord nodded and respectfully said, "This old servant naturally knows." Master possesses the Grand Demon Battle Art and the Grand Demon Battle Chi in his body. Absorbing this demonic origin is most suitable. However, this is the origin of a high-rank demon emperor after all. Master is only a first-level demon emperor right now, so this old servant believes that Master should not be in a hurry to absorb it all. Instead, absorb a portion of it. Once you cultivate the Grand Demon Battle Art to its peak and absorb all of it, you might be able to directly break through to the high-rank demon emperor. Hearing the Grand Demon Lord's suggestion, Yuan asked somewhat dubiously, "Are you sure?" The Grand Demon Lord lowered his head and said, "Don't worry, Master. This old servant wouldn't dare deceive Master. The Grand Demon Battle Art has a total of 18 layers. Every 3 layers allows one to advance to the Demon Emperor realm. Originally, if Master relied on himself to cultivate, it would take a very long time. However, with this old servant's demonic origin, it should be relatively easy to cultivate the Grand Demon Battle Art to its peak. If Master absorbs the Grand Demon Battle Art after reaching its peak, the effects will be the greatest." This old man probably isn't lying to you. After all, this is the origin of a high-rank demon emperor. It's a bit of a waste for you to absorb it at such a low cultivation. Once you reach the 6th layer of the Demon Emperor realm, the effects will probably be maximized, Xiao He said in agreement. Zhuan nodded when he heard that. He said, "I'll trust you this once. Since you've become my servant, you should serve me well. If I can see your loyalty, I will help you recover to your peak." The Grand Demon Lord was stunned. Soon after, excitement appeared in his eyes. He asked, "Master, are you serious?" "Of course I am." Zhuan nodded. With a wave of his sleeve, he disappeared with the Grand Demon Lord and Buddhist Jun. Swoosh! A ship shrouded in black clouds passed through the air. Through the gaps in the clouds, 4 figures could be seen standing on the deck. They were a man and 3 women. The 4 of them were Zhuan, Miao Lu, Qing Lian and Luo Xing. Swoosh! With the sound of something breaking through the air, 3 figures charged onto the deck from the black clouds. The crisp sound of their feet landing on the deck immediately alerted Miao Lv, Qing Lian, and Luo Xing. However, Zhuowen slowly turned around with his hands behind his back. Looking at the 3 figures, a smile appeared on his face. When Miao Lv and the others saw that the newcomers were Zhuowen's 2 clones, they relaxed their vigilance. The 3 women's beautiful eyes curiously landed on the stooped Grand Demon Lord beside Zhuowen. "Brother Zhuo, who's this old man?" Miao Lu asked out of curiosity. "He's my servant, Emokue," Zhuowen said with a smile. He had already said before that the Grand Demon Lord was dead, so the 3 of them probably would not believe him if he said the old man was the Grand Demon Lord. As a result, Zhuowen could not be bothered to explain. He directly named the Grand Demon Lord Emokue and made him his servant in the future. The 3 women looked at each other. Although they were puzzled, they did not raise any more questions. After all, this was Zhuowen's private matter. It was not convenient for them to get to the bottom of it. The black cloud sail was extremely fast. It crossed the void like a black bolt of lightning and soon arrived at the Great Song Prefecture's Sky City. The Sky City was not very far from the Great Song Prefecture's Great Song City. Ever since the Great Demon Sect ruins appeared, countless cultivators from the 7 prefectures had not returned. A year had passed, and the other cultivators from the 7 prefectures had all kinds of guesses. The most reliable guess was that the Grand Demon Lord was hiding in the Great Demon Sect ruins, so all the cultivators from the 7 prefectures who went there were wiped out. The Great Song Prefecture's master, Songjie, and countless elite cultivators from the Great Song Prefecture were all buried in the Great Demon Sect ruins. In an instant, the Great Song Prefecture's Great Song Prefecture declined. The other forces in the Great Song Prefecture were somewhat restless, wanting to replace the Great Song Prefecture. However, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Although all the elite cultivators of the Great Song Prefecture, including Songjie, were buried in the Great Demon Sect ruins, the foundation of the Great Song Prefecture still existed. It was really difficult for ordinary forces to replace it. When the black cloud sail landed, it attracted the attention of many cultivators in the Sky City. Zhuowen's group of 5 walked down the black cloud sail and went straight to the core of the Sky City. There stood a rather tall mansion. The 2 words Ryuka were engraved on the plaque above the mansion. Zhuowen! A shout immediately attracted the attention of Zhuowen's group of 5. Zhuowen followed the voice and immediately saw LV Tao leading a group of people towards them. "Brother LV," Zhuowen said with a smile. "I didn't expect you to stay there for so long. Come with me to Ryuka first. Senior Han Tian and Elder Xuan miss you very much." As LV Tao spoke, he pulled Zhuowen and the rest towards the Long family. This scene caused many warriors in the surroundings to discuss and whisper among themselves. Ryuka had risen in the Sky City half a year ago. Moreover, the higher-ups of this Ryuka had a 2nd-level Emperor Realm expert and a powerful level 6 Arcana master. There were also many celestial masters under their command. Therefore, in half a year, the Ryuka had quickly developed into the most powerful force in the Sky City, suppressing the other local forces in the Sky City. LV Tao was an extremely powerful genius in Ryuka. He was very famous in the Sky City and was known as the most powerful person among the younger generation in the Sky City. At this moment, seeing the famous LV Tao treating Zhuowen's group so warmly, the other cultivators in the Sky City were naturally surprised. They secretly guessed the identity of Zhuowen's group. Under LV Tao's lead, Zhuowen also entered the Ryuka mansion. It had to be said that the Ryuka mansion was indeed quite magnificent. There were countless pavilions, terraces, and pavilions. There were also many cultivators guarding inside, and the security was very tight. When they entered the hall, Zhuowen also found that Zhuo Xiangding, LV Han Tian, and Elder Xiwan were already waiting inside. When they saw Zhuowen, the 3 of them got up and happily welcomed him. After a round of greetings, Zhuowen also asked about the current development of the Ryuka mansion. The answer he received was indeed very gratifying. In the past half a year, the Ryuka mansion had completely established itself in the Sky City. Because of the Ryuka mansion's strength, it had attracted many cultivators in the Sky City, causing the number of people in the Ryuka mansion to reach nearly 1,000. This was only half a year. If the Ryuka mansion was given more time, it would probably develop even more. Zhuowen, if we become the most powerful force in the Dekangfu region, then the Ryuka mansion will be completely on the right track, LV Han Tian said happily. Chapter 12:18. Second Layer Demon Emperor. Hearing Zhuowen's heroic words, the entire hall fell silent. Then, Lu Hantian stood up abruptly and said excitedly, "Our horizons are too narrow. We are only restricted to the Great Song Prefecture. You are right, Ryuka wants to become the strongest force in the entire panicked Great World and surpass the Great Demon Sect." In the hall, the others also came back to their senses. Their faces were flushed red and their eyes were filled with excitement. "Hyun, I plan to gather the Ryuka forces and take down the Great Song Prefecture. With the Great Song Prefecture as our headquarters, we will spread our forces to the other 6 prefectures. We will spread our Ryuka forces throughout the 7 prefectures and become the strongest force in the 7 prefectures." Lu Hantian suddenly proposed. Zhuowen shook his head and said, "Big brother Hantian, Ryuka has only been developing for half a year. There is no hurry. Let's wait for 3 years before we make our move. The Ryuka is not as strong as you think." Hearing this, Lu Hantian came back to his senses. Just now, because of Zhuowen's words, his blood was stirred up, so he was hot-headed for a moment. He patted his head and said awkwardly, I was too excited. In these 3 years, develop Ryuka well. After 3 years, we will take down the Great Song Prefecture. Then, within 10 years, we will take down the other 6 prefectures and let the panicked Great World respect our Ryuka." After speaking, Zhuowen turned to Zhuo Xiangding, Elder Xiwan, and Lu Hantian and transmitted his voice. "Grandfather, big brother Hantian, Elder Xun, I plan to go into seclusion for 3 years. The flow of time in the panicked Great World is 365 times faster than the outside world. I plan to use this difference to improve my strength." Zhuo Xiangding, Elder Xiwan, and Lu Hantian looked at each other and nodded. They knew that outside the Blue Dragon Hall, there was an arcane heavenly master and 2 4th-layer Emperor Realm warriors waiting for him. If Zhuan did not improve his strength as soon as possible, it would be difficult for him to go out. Therefore, Lu Hantian sent people to bring Zhuan to a rather quiet attic in the Ryuka prefecture. Although Miao Lu, Luo Xing, and Qing Lian wanted to follow, they were stopped by Lu Hantian. Since Yuan needed to go into seclusion, he could not be disturbed. After entering the attic arranged by Lu Hantian, Yuan also brought the Lord of Extreme Devil with him. After all, his demonic Dao doppelganger had cultivated the Extreme Devil battle art created by the Lord of Extreme Devil. In terms of demonic Dao, the Lord of Extreme Devil knew much more than him. Therefore, Yuan brought the Lord of Extreme Devil with him mainly to help him cultivate the Extreme Devil battle art. After all, with a good teacher by his side, cultivation would be much faster than fumbling around on his own. After entering the attic, Yuan dismissed the people sent by Lu Hantian. With a wave of his hand, he summoned his demonic Dao doppelganger and said to the Lord of Extreme Devil, "In the future, you will be responsible for guiding my demonic Dao doppelganger in the Extreme Devil battle art. You should be able to get my demonic Dao doppelganger to the 6th level in 3 years, right?" The Lord of Extreme Devil bowed slightly and said politely, "Don't worry, Master. With Master's talent, it shouldn't be a problem for him to reach the 6th level in 3 years. However, I have a suggestion. Would you like to hear it?" "Speak," Yuan said indifferently. The Extreme Devil battle art has the word battle in it. As the name suggests, this demonic Dao codex is most suitable for battle. Of course, if you want to break through faster, you only need to let your demonic Dao doppelganger fight more and find powerful opponents to fight. Through battle, you can comprehend the mysteries of the Extreme Devil battle art. Then, breaking through will be much easier, the Lord of Extreme Devil said respectfully. Zhuan frowned slightly. "You mean to say that if I want to break through the Extreme Devil battle art quickly, I have to constantly fight and advance through battle?" Back then, I comprehended the concept of battle in battle, so I created this Extreme Devil battle art. The easiest way to break through in this demonic Dao codex is through battle. It is also the most suitable demonic Dao codex for demonic Dao cultivators. Demonic Dao cultivators do not fear battle or death. However, the first 9 levels of the Extreme Devil battle art are the foundation. It doesn't necessarily require battle comprehension. "I can guide Master," the Lord of Extreme Devil said. "If that's the case, then guide me first and help my demonic Dao doppelganger break through," Zhuan said with a faint smile. The Lord of Extreme Devil nodded. He naturally had no objections. The pavilion was very large, and the courtyard surrounding it was even larger than the pavilion itself. The environment was elegant and serene. Zhuan planned to let his demonic Dao doppelganger cultivate in the courtyard and have the Lord of Extreme Devil properly guide him in cultivating the Extreme Devil battle art. Meanwhile, his main body and Buddhist Dao doppelganger planned to cultivate in the pavilion. Because of Xiao He, Yuan did not have high hopes that his main body could break through in 3 years. After all, Xiao He's origin was far too powerful. If he wanted to materialize, the amount of astral energy required was far too great. With Zhuowen's current cultivation speed, it would be difficult for him to accumulate enough astral energy for his main body to break through to the Emperor realm. As a result, Zhuan placed the opportunity for his main body to break through to the Emperor realm in the embittered sea of Misery's tomb. He knew that after powerful Emperor realm cultivators died, they would condense astral crystals with extremely dense astral energy. If he could find enough astral crystals in the tomb, then his main body would be able to accumulate enough astral energy. When that happened, he would be able to break through to the Emperor realm in one fell swoop. Xiao He would also be able to completely materialize. Xiao He really is a freak. Not only does materialization have to be delayed until the Emperor realm, but because of him, it's actually harder for my main body to break through to the Emperor realm than it is for my Buddhist and demonic Dao doppelganger, Jian Chen murmured to himself. With a wave of his sleeve, he summoned his Buddhist Dao doppelganger and had it continue cultivating the nirvana of the great sun. His Buddhist Dao doppelganger was also a peak celestial venerable. Zhuan hoped that his Buddhist Tao doppelganger could use the nirvana of the Great Sun to break through to the Emperor realm during this time. You're bad-mouthing me again. Xiao He appeared on Zhuan's shoulder and said unhappily. Zhuan pursed his lips and said rather seriously, Xiao He, do you think my Buddhist Tao doppelganger can use the nirvana of the Great Sun to break through to the Emperor realm? Xiao He glanced at the Buddhist Tao doppelganger and said, it should be possible. However, the level of the nirvana of the Great Sun is a little low. I'm afraid it can only reach the first level of the Buddha realm at most. If you want your Buddhist Tao doppelganger to continue breaking through, you need to find a stronger Buddhist Tao codex. Hearing this, Zhuan nodded. However, there were even fewer Buddhist Tao cultivators in the eastern land than demonic Tao cultivators. This Buddhist Tao codex was really difficult to find. Kid, have you forgotten about the monk in blood-red clothes? Isn't that guy from the Great Leiyin Temple in the Divine Spectre realm? After you enter the Divine Spectre realm, you can let your Buddhist Tao doppelganger enter the Great Leiyin Temple to cultivate. That place will definitely give your Buddhist Tao doppelganger a lot of opportunities, Xiao He suddenly said. Zhuan's eyes flashed. Xiao He was right. He had forgotten the purpose of the monk in blood-red clothes. From the memories of the monk in blood-red clothes, he knew that the Great Leiyin Temple was not a weak force. It was said that there were saints in it as well. It was a powerful force in the Divine Spectre realm that was second only to the Divine Spectre Academy's inner court. Your idea is not bad. After I enter the Divine Spectre realm, I'll let my Buddhist Tao doppelganger enter the Great Leiyin Temple and let my demonic Tao doppelganger enter the demonic Tao sect. This way, it won't delay the cultivation of my doppelganger, Zhuan said with a grin. Time flew by quickly, and 3 years passed in a flash. On this day, Lu Hantian led the Ryuka people to Datsong City to attack the Datsong Mansion. The Great Song Manor's foundation was indeed deep. Although the Manor Lord and many elite cultivators had perished in the Great Devil Sect's ruins, there were still 2 martial emperors among them. One was a 3rd-level martial emperor while the other was a 2nd-level martial emperor. Relying on the 2 Emperor Realm warriors, the Datsong Mansion was able to completely resist the Ryuka's attack. In fact, the Ryuka who were attacking were at a disadvantage in this battle. At this moment, in the Firmament City, Ryuka. In the quiet courtyard, a towering black pillar suddenly soared into the sky. Demonic chi lingered around the black pillar. At the same time, countless demonic shadows descended from the sky. The ear-piercing screeches of the demonic nature resounded throughout the entire Long family. Under the black pillar, Yun of the demonic Tao slowly stood up, his black and red hair fluttering in the wind. His black and red eyes stared at the endless demonic creatures in the sky, and he said coldly, "Demonic tribulation, what's there to fear?" As he spoke, Yun of the demonic Tao took a step forward, rolling extreme demonic battle chi in his hand, condensing into an extreme demonic spear. With a wave of his right hand, demonic chi surged out, transforming into towering spear shadows. The surrounding demonic shadows were instantly pierced by these spear shadows, turning into rolling black chi. In the courtyard, the Lord of the extreme demonic Tao raised his head slightly, looking at Yun of the demonic chi in the sky. His turbid eyes revealed a hint of surprise, and he muttered in a low voice, "In 3 years, he has cultivated the extreme demonic battle art to the 6th level, and even advanced to the 2nd-level Demon Emperor. Master's talent can be said to be 1 in a million." Within 10 breaths, countless demonic shadows were dealt with by Zhuan of the demonic Tao, and Zhuan's aura soared to the extreme. His cultivation could be considered to have completely entered the 2nd-level Demon Emperor realm. Zhuan of the demonic Tao's aura was far more terrifying than the average 2nd-level Emperor realm. Even 3rd-level Emperors couldn't compare to him. With Zhuan of the 2nd-level Demon Emperor realm, Yun was confident that he could fight 4th-level Emperors. Jun slowly landed in the courtyard, and asked the Lord of the extreme demonic Tao, "How is the Ryuka army now?" "It's said that it's not very good. There are still 2 Emperor Realm warriors in the Great Song Mansion. Coupled with the geographical advantage, the Ryuka army has yet to capture the Great Song Mansion," the Lord of the extreme demonic Tao said respectfully. "Then I'll go take a look," Zhuan said nonchalantly. Then, he turned into a demonic cloud and quickly left the firmament city. At this moment, in the sky above Great Song City, two figures were constantly engaged in a fierce battle. 18 stars were constantly colliding, and the terrifying Emperor's aura was like a multiplied pressure, crushing everyone's body. Boom! The two figures clashed again, and then separated. One of them was a rather sloppy man, who looked like a beggar. He stared unkindly at a middle-aged man in purple in front of him. Chapter 12:19. Crushing all the cultivators in the Great Song Mansion stood on the city walls, looking down coldly at the Ryuka cultivators. Lu Hantian stood proudly in front of the Ryuka cultivators. He stared at the man in purple and said, "Our Ryuka's development is unstoppable. Your Great Song Mansion's elite cultivators, Songjia, will inevitably decline. Why don't you join our Ryuka?" "Nonsense. Our Great Song Mansion has stood tall for almost 100 years. How can we decline just because you say so?" The man in purple said coldly. Lu Hantian snorted and said, "Since that's the case, let's fight." As he spoke, Lu Hantian took a step forward, and 9 cold white Emperor stars shot out. At the same time, Lu Hantian's soul armor sealing gate came crashing down from the sky with the 9 stars revolving around it. After advancing to the Emperor realm, Lu Hantian's sealed door became even more terrifying. The huge door was tens of thousands of feet wide, and almost covered the entire Great Song City. The violet-clothed man's gaze narrowed, but he was not afraid. He also released his Emperor Star and Armor Soul. His Armor Soul was a massive violet goshawk. When it spread its wings, it was like a violet cloud that covered the sky. At this moment, whether it was the Ryuka cultivators or the Great Song City cultivators, they all looked up at the sky. When they saw the 2 Emperor Realm cultivators releasing their sealed door, they knew that they were going all out. The outcome of this battle depended on the outcome of the battle. The sealed door came crashing down, and a sharp whistling sound swept out. The purple eagle was not to be outdone. It let out a sharp cry, and its huge purple wings flapped. Gusts of purple wind turned into a purple storm that spread out. Boom! The sealed door and the purple storm collided, and an extremely terrifying shockwave spread out between the two. The entire void trembled. Seal. Lu Hantian waved his sleeve and the sealed gate erupted with an extremely blazing light. Countless strands of sealing power spread out and directly enveloped the purple storm, causing the purple storm to freeze and be sealed in midair. Upon seeing this scene, the violet-robed young man's heart pounded. This Lu Hantian was also at the 3rd level of the Immortal Emperor realm, but his combat prowess was so terrifying. The violet-robed young man's eyes flickered. He stepped out and shouted, "Green Jade, help me!" With that, the man in green who had been standing behind the man in purple nodded. He formed a seal with both hands and immediately released his Armor Soul. The man named Qing Yu was another Imperial Realm cultivator from the Great Song Mansion. His cultivation was slightly lower than the man in purple. He should be around the 2nd level of the Imperial Realm. However, even if he was at the 2nd level of the Imperial Realm, if he teamed up with the man in purple, Lu Hantian would not be able to handle it. As expected, when Qing Yu released his Vine Armor Soul, Lu Hantian's expression changed drastically. The vine was like a giant hand that slammed onto the sealed door. Then, the sealed door, which had the upper hand, suddenly shook violently and was pushed back. The moment the sealed door was pushed back, the suppressed purple eagle let out a shrill cry. It flapped its wings and its sharp voice rolled out. Together with the vine, it slammed onto the surface of the sealed door. Then there was a clear and crisp sound. Traces of cracks appeared on the surface of the sealed door. Lu Hantian spat out a mouthful of blood from the corner of his mouth and his complexion became extremely gloomy. He didn't expect that Qing Yu would suddenly attack him, so he was caught unprepared. Now that the purple-robed man had successfully defeated him, Lu Hantian had suffered a serious injury. Despicable! Many Ryuka warriors glared at the man in purple. The man in purple's cultivation was similar to Lu Hantian's. He was obviously suppressed by the latter, But he still asked his companions to attack Lu Hantian together. Bullying with numbers was a despicable act. The winner takes all. How is this despicable? The man in purple stood in the void and said calmly. He then signaled to Qin Yu, and the two of them continued to pursue Lu Hantian. They knew that as long as Lu Hantian died, the Ryuka army would collapse. If you want to touch old Han, you have to get through me first. An angry roar was heard. Then, Elder Shiwan took a step forward. Terrifying mental energy burst out from his spiritual ring, and yuan crystals that were emitting white light flew out. These yuan crystals were arranged in front of Elder Shiwan in a strange and mysterious way, forming a mysterious pattern array. 10,000 galloping horses. The cries of horses were heard. Then, countless shadows of horses rushed out from the array in front of Elder Shun. The sound of the galloping horses' hooves resounded in the entire space. It was as if 10,000 horses were galloping. It was a spectacular and terrifying scene. Destroy them together. These two people are the higher-ups of Ryuka. We can't let them live. The purple-robed man snorted coldly. He stepped on the purple goshawk's spine and gently clenched his right hand. A purple halberd appeared in his hand. The purple halberd exuded a terrifying emperor's aura. It was clearly a powerful emperor weapon. Qin Yu nodded. She stepped on the vines that grew endlessly, and a green long sword appeared in her hand. Both of them did not want to waste any time and wanted to end the battle quickly. They both used their strongest attacks. The green sword radiance and countless purple halberd shadows turned into a terrifying purple energy hurricane. Boom! Boom! Immediately, the crowd below was shocked to see that in the sky above, the horrifying illusory image of thousands of horses first stopped, then collapsed inch by inch and disappeared without a trace. The purple-robed man and green jade continued to rush toward Elder Shiwan and Lu Hantian with great momentum. Lu Hantian's eyes were cold. He flipped his right hand and took out the Yuan Qi Tower. The Yuan Qi Tower grew from the size of a palm to a few hundred feet tall. It stood in front of Elder Shiwan and Lu Hantian. Boom! The purple-clothed man and Qin Yu didn't even glance at the tower as they directly launched attacks at it. However, to their astonishment, the tower was actually extremely tough. Their attacks were completely blocked by the tower, and the price they had to pay was merely a slight shake from the tower. This Emperor artifact is so tough, yet it's actually completely undamaged after receiving our full-powered attacks? Qin Yu's eyes narrowed as she spoke with some surprise. The two of us also have Emperor weapons in our hands. However, they are both low-tier Emperor weapons. Yet, it only shook slightly after receiving the attacks of two low-tier Emperor weapons. This pagoda-shaped Emperor weapon is most likely a mid-tier Emperor weapon or above. The purple-clothed man guessed with a fiery gaze. It's a mid-grade Emperor weapon. Qin Yu was startled, and a greedy look appeared in his eyes. The two of them looked at each other and nodded as if they had reached an agreement. They had to kill Lu Hantian, and they had to seize the tower-shaped Emperor weapon in front of them. With such a mid-grade Emperor weapon guarding the Great Song Mansion, their Great Song Mansion would have another layer of protection. Kill! Thinking of this, Qin Yu and the man in purple attacked the Yuan Qi Tower with all their might. The aftermath of the terrifying attacks stirred up a terrifying energy ripple in the air. Puchi! Lu Hantian's face instantly turned pale. After all, the Yuan Qi Tower was a mid-grade Emperor weapon. He was a low-grade Emperor realm expert. To maintain the operation of the mid-grade Emperor weapon would consume a lot of his energy. Now that the man in purple and Qin Yu were attacking with all their might, it could be said that Lu Hantian was in an even worse situation. Xuan, you go first. Lu Hantian said to Elder Shiwan in a deep voice. Elder Shiwan shook his head and waved his sleeve. A terrifying mental energy formed a terrifying barrier in front of the Yuan Qi Tower. It took a lot of pressure off Lu Hantian. If I leave, I'm afraid that you won't be able to hold on. Hearing this, Lu Hantian sighed and secretly blamed himself. I was too impulsive in this battle. I should have waited for Zhuan to come out of seclusion before attacking the Great Song Mansion. Now that things have turned out like this, it's like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Elder Xuan shook his head and said, "It's not your fault. Didn't the information say that there was only one Emperor Realm expert in the Great Song Mansion? Who would have thought that there would be another Emperor Realm expert in there? If the information was accurate, you wouldn't have attacked the Great Song Mansion before Xuan." Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, a terrifying demonic cloud surged in the sky. An earth-shattering demonic aura came crashing down, causing many cultivators in Great Song City to shudder in fear. What's going on? What a terrifying aura. Countless people raised their heads and stared at the demonic cloud that was getting closer and closer. Their eyes were filled with shock. Even the purple-clothed man and green jade, who were attacking the Vitality Pagoda, stopped their attacks and stared at the demonic cloud with fear in their eyes. The two of them could also feel the terrifying aura of the demonic cloud. Finally, the demonic cloud that covered the sky came to the sky above Great Song City. Then, the demonic cloud slowly descended in the shape of a funnel. At the entrance of the funnel, a demonic youth with long black and red hair slowly walked over. Every step that he took, the sound of his footsteps seemed to be able to stifle the heartbeat of the crowd, causing them to be unable to breathe. "You are?" The purple-clothed man's eyes narrowed. Looking at the demonic youth that was walking over, he actually felt a sense of fear and trepidation. "Ryuka Dragon Script," Zhuowen said indifferently. Taking a step forward, he appeared above the purple-clothed man in green jade as if he had teleported. He pressed down with his right hand and a terrifying great demonic battle chi surged out and turned into a terrifying demonic hand. Rumble! The purple-clothed man in green jade's faces changed drastically. With a sharp cry, the purple-clothed man patted the purple goshawk under his feet. The goshawk screeched and turned into a huge purple shadow, exploding out. Green Jade also summoned her green vines and used her strongest attack to attack the demonic hand. "Destroy," Zhuowen said softly. The demonic hand was like a hot knife through butter as it slammed onto the purple goshawk and green vines. Then, a mournful scream rang out. The purple goshawk and green vines couldn't withstand the demonic hand for even a breath and directly shattered into nothingness. "You too will die too." The demonic hand didn't lose its momentum and once again slammed onto the purple-clothed man and green jade. The two of them didn't even make a sound before they exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Chapter 12:20. Gao Shu Swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Everyone's gaze fell on the demonic youth who had descended from the demonic clouds. The purple-robed man and green jade were both at the third Heaven Emperor realm, while green jade was at the second Heaven Emperor realm. Both of them represented the strongest combat power in the Great Song Mansion. However, both of them were instantly killed by the demonic youth. All the martial artists in Great Song City started to tremble. Their faces were pale and their legs were trembling. They stared at the demonic youth who was floating in the air with fear in their eyes. The only two Emperor Realm martial artists in Great Song Mansion had been killed by him. Who else could stop this demonic youth? "Are you still going to put up a resistance?" Zhuowen stood in the air and looked down at all the martial artists in Great Song City. His clear voice was like a demon's voice as it spread out and lingered in everyone's ears. All the martial artists in Great Song City slowly retreated. The fear in their eyes became more and more intense. They were starting to feel afraid. Those who surrender will not die. Those who put up a resistance will be killed. Zhuowen spat out another sentence, which finally destroyed the confidence of all the martial artists in Great Song City. Then, the city gates of Great Song City slowly opened and the Ryuka martial artists cheered as they poured into Great Song City. Swoosh! Elder Shiwan and Lu Hantian rushed to Zhuowen's side. Lu Hantian looked at Zhuowen in surprise and said, "Tuan, your demonic avatar has broken through to the second Heaven Demon Emperor realm?" Zhuowen smiled and nodded. He had confirmed Lu Hantian's guess. "That's fast." Lu Hantian and Elder Shiwan looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. A demon emperor and an ordinary emperor realm martial artist were two completely different concepts. The difficulty of breaking through to the demon emperor realm was definitely hundreds of times more difficult than an ordinary emperor realm martial artist. Perhaps some talented geniuses could break through from the first Heaven Emperor realm to the second Heaven Emperor realm in 3 years, but it was impossible for a demonic cultivator to do so. However, Zhuan had done it. There was no doubt that Zhuowen's talent in demonic cultivation was far beyond an ordinary demonic cultivator. Of course, if Lu Hantian and Elder Shiwan knew that Zhuan had the Lord of the Supreme Demon Emperor realm by his side, they would not be so surprised. It was indeed not too difficult for a second Heaven Demon Emperor to kill an ordinary third Heaven Emperor realm martial artist. After knowing that Zhuan had reached the second Heaven Demon Emperor realm, Lu Hantian and Elder Shiwan were not too surprised. You can occupy the Great Song Mansion first. Next, I plan to use my demonic avatar to conquer the other 6 prefectures with you. I will strive to unify the 7 prefectures within 5 years and bring my Long family to an unparalleled level of power. As Zhuan spoke, he took a step forward and entered Dutsong Mansion. Elder Shiwan and Lu Hantian looked at each other and were pleasantly surprised. They knew that with the help of Zhuowen's demonic avatar, conquering the other 6 prefectures would be much easier. The reason Zhuowen proposed this was mainly because the Extreme Devil Lord had told him that if he wanted to make a quick breakthrough in his Extreme Devil battle art, the only way was through constant fighting. Zhuowen hoped that while conquering the other 6 prefectures, he would be able to fight against powerful Emperor Realm cultivators. This would allow his Extreme Devil battle art to break through and allow his Demon Emperor Realm to reach a higher level. When Ryuka completely conquered Dutsong Mansion, the entire panicked Great World was shaken. Ryuka's name spread across the 7 prefectures. Countless forces knew about the rising force called Ryuka. Although the upper echelons of the 7 major prefectures had all disappeared without a trace in the ruins of the Supreme Demon Sect, the 7 major prefectures were, after all, a huge force that had been passed down for many years, and their foundation was much deeper than ordinary forces. If they wanted to attack a colossus like the Great Song Mansion without an extremely strong high-end force, it was simply impossible. The rumor about Ryuka's Long One also spread like wildfire. He had killed the remaining 2 Emperor Realm experts of the Dutsong Mansion in an instant. One of them was a 3rd-level Emperor Realm expert, while the other was a 2nd-level Emperor Realm expert. Many warriors fell silent when they heard such a rumor. Killing a 3rd-level Emperor Realm expert in an instant. Such strength had already reached the level of the Lord of the 7 prefectures. If the Lord of the 7 prefectures didn't appear, no one would be able to compete with him. However, the Lord of the 7 prefectures had disappeared in the Supreme Demon Sect ruins. Therefore, everyone knew that the rise of Ryuka was unstoppable. After all, with such a terrifying existence like Long One, it was reasonable for Ryuka to conquer Dutsong Mansion. The Ryuka spent half a year moving their base of operations to Dutsong City. They began to establish their forces in Dutsong City. At the same time, they announced that they would be recruiting new blood from the Dutsong Prefecture. They would select talented geniuses to join the Ryuka, causing the Ryuka's forces to continuously grow. On the other hand, Demon Dao Zhuowen led Lu Hantian, Elder Shiwan, Zhuo Xiangding, and a group of Ryuka elites to conquer the other 6 prefectures. With Zhuowen's existence and the terrifying battle strength of the Ryuka's upper echelons, the Ryuka army was unstoppable. They conquered one city after another. With the Dutsong Prefecture as the center, they first conquered the Dutsong Prefecture, followed by the Great Tang Prefecture, the Great Han Prefecture, and the Great Chu Prefecture. These 4 prefectures were much weaker than the Great Zhou Prefecture and the Great Qin Prefecture, and they did not even have many Emperor Realm cultivators left. As such, the Ryuka army did not encounter much resistance in these 4 prefectures. What was worth noting was that the Great Qin Mansion and the Great Zhou Institute were actually impregnable. Moreover, both the Great Qin Mansion and the Great Zhou Institute actually had a 4th-level Emperor Realm cultivator overseeing them. Although Zhuo Wen's demonic avatar had reached the 2nd-level Demon Emperor Realm, his battle prowess was at most comparable to a 4th-level Emperor Realm cultivator. It was basically impossible for him to defeat or kill a 4th-level Emperor Realm cultivator. Moreover, the Great Qin Prefecture and the Great Zhou Prefecture knew that the Ryuka army was too powerful, and the 2 prefectures were intimately interdependent. As such, the Great Qin Prefecture and the Great Zhou Prefecture came to an agreement and joined forces. The armies of the two prefectures gathered at the Great Qin Prefecture's Gaoshu Prefecture. Gaoshu Prefecture was an extremely dangerous place in the Great Qin Prefecture. Its terrain ranged from low to high, and it was a classic example of a place that was easy to defend and difficult to attack. This was also why the Great Zhou Prefecture's army was gathered at the Great Qin Prefecture. The Great Qin Prefecture and the Great Zhou Prefecture's two fourth-stage emperors were also stationed at Gaoshu Prefecture. Zhuan had fought with these two fourth-stage emperors before, but he was unable to do anything to them. In fact, the two of them were even able to suppress Zhuan when working together. We've already stopped at Gaoshu Prefecture for 2 years, and we haven't been able to attack for 2 whole years. Lu Hantian stood on a tall mountain slope as he stared at the Gaoshu Prefecture's perilous terrain with a trace of worry in his eyes. Elder Xuan stood beside Lu Hantian and sighed. It's basically impossible for the Ryuka army to break through this perilous terrain. If we want to win this battle, Nguyen has to defeat the two Emperor Realm cultivators and destroy the only obstacle at Gaoshu Prefecture. Only then will our Ryuka army be able to enter Gaoshu Prefecture unimpeded and take down the Great Qin Prefecture. Once the Great Qin Prefecture takes down the Great Zhou Prefecture, the already deserted Great Zhou Prefecture will not be a problem either. Lu Hantian nodded. In the void behind him, there were extremely dense demonic clouds lingering and gathering. Above the demonic clouds, a demonic young man with long black and red hair sat cross-legged quietly. Zhuan is breaking through to the 3rd level of the Demon Emperor realm. If he can completely break through to the 3rd level of the Demon Emperor realm, the two Emperor realm cultivators from the Great Qin Prefecture and Great Zhou Prefecture won't be a problem. I hope that Zhuan can succeed this time, Lu Hantian muttered in a low voice. He was very clear that this battle was mainly dependent on Zhuan. If Zhuan could defeat the two Emperor realm cultivators, then the Ryuka army would definitely win this battle. Above the demonic clouds, Zhuan slowly opened his eyes and muttered in a low voice. There's still some distance between me and the 3rd level of the Demon Emperor realm. Perhaps I can try this. As he spoke, Zhuan flicked his finger and took out a black ball. This black ball contained extremely dense extreme demonic battle chi. It was the 2 balls of extreme demonic battle chi essence that he had obtained from the 2 demon statues. Back then, Nguyen had only used 1 ball of extreme demonic battle chi essence to form his demon body, and he had kept the other ball. Now, Zhuan decided to use the remaining ball of extreme demonic battle chi essence to forcefully break through to the 3rd level of the Demon Emperor realm. I hope it won't disappoint me. As he spoke, Nguyen clenched his right hand and crushed the black ball. The terrifying extreme demonic battle chi circled around Zhuan and covered his entire body, making him look even more mysterious and distant. In the land of Gaochu, there were groups of soldiers in fine armor patrolling the various passages. The inside was airtight and heavily guarded. However, these soldiers all had a rather similar action, and that was to frequently raise their heads to look at the sky with reverence in their eyes. This was because there were 2 majestic figures sitting cross-legged quietly floating in the sky above Gaoshu. These 2 figures were surrounded by a terrifying emperor's might. The emperor's might that spread out was like a towering mountain, causing all things to tremble. These 2 figures were the only Emperor Realm cultivators in the Great Qin Palace and Great Zhou Institute. The Emperor Realm cultivator from the Great Qin Palace was called Qin Lei. He was rather old, and his hair was white. However, his face was rosy and he was as lively as a young man. The Emperor Realm cultivator from the Great Zhou Institute was called Zhou Yan. This Zhou Yan was an extremely talented youth in the Great Zhou Institute. He was only around 30 years old, but his cultivation had already reached the Emperor Realm. These 2 people were left behind by the Great Qin Palace and Great Zhou Institute's mansion masters in advance to suppress the bad elements in the Great Zhou Institute and maintain order in the Great Demonic Sect. After all, this trip to the Great Demonic Sect ruins was risky. If they brought all the elites in the Great Qin Palace and something unexpected happened, the Great Zhou Institute would definitely fall into chaos. That Ryuka Longwen has already stayed in the demonic clouds for 2 months. I wonder what he's doing? Zhou Yen frowned slightly. His sharp gaze gathered above the demonic clouds in the sky as if he wanted to see through it. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.